Hey, welcome everybody to a long delayed 31 on 31 debrief. So for anybody that's joining us for the first time for one of these, once, twice, 3 times a year, however many ideas we have, we do a little thing called 31 on 31 where we pick a theme, grab 31 franchise films and rank them worst to best. And then after we get done debuting our videos, usually a little sooner, it's been a little over 2 months, we come together in a debrief and discuss our group averages and get all the fighting out. So it's always a little bit of fun. It's always entertaining. And thank you guys for, I would say, patiently waiting, but I've gotten so many comments. It's like, yeah, great. You're reviewing that new movie, but when's the debrief? So
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I was getting that in like live streams, and it's like, I'm not the boss. Dude, I just work here.
It's been an insane summer. Like, if I said that summer 2023 was the busiest summer I've ever had, it probably would not quite be saying it. Like, between a vacation and just jam-packed weekends with like 3 massive blockbusters every week, it's been nuts. But here we are, now that the summer season's finally starting to wind down a bit, and it's time to get back to vampires and werewolves. So we'll go around the horn. Barbie, how's it going?
Can you show our names for a second? Because I'm on the right time zone for this.
Oh, crap. How do I do that? Let me think.
It's no big deal. Oh, wait. Yeah, there it is.
Hey.
Hi. All the way from the UK. I got the UK discount, and they detained me again. But
you can get one of those little punch cards, like your fifth
4 more, and I get a I don't know.
You get a free bag of peanuts from the vending machine while you wait.
Biscuits, some jammy Dodgers.
There you go. Speaking of jammy Dodgers, Brian Lomax. How we going, sir? How you doing?
Good, yeah. Same old me, you know.
Mm-hmm. So we're doing this.
I'm looking at the screen here, and I'm just thinking, the screen's divided between 2 guys who look like they've been lit on a Saw film, and then 2 guys who look like they've been lit on an episode of Friends.
Listen, I'm just
one side
Barbie's hot, man.
The other side does not. Yeah, we're doing this a little late because half of our screen is 5 hours ahead. So Brian wanted to take a little nap and come recharged, and Brian must sleep like I do because it never works out that way when you plan it to.
Yeah.
Uncle Sean Sisu, how you doing?
Woo! Yeah, it's awfully late where I'm at. You picked a really inconvenient time for me. It's 9 o'clock at night here, so I don't know if it's more difficult for you guys, but I'm drinking my... I don't know how you guys are doing this. Like, how this time got picked, man. Woo! You guys are bold.
I was just at my neighbor's house. I was just at my neighbor's house.
3 in the morning.
Oh, that's right. It's 6 hours for me. 3 in the morning. Yikes!
Yeah, I was just at my neighbor's house an hour ago, and they were asking me about the stream, and I was like, "Yeah, we're doing it at 10," and they're like, "That's late," and I was like, "Oh, that's nothing compared to 2 of us are going to be starting at 3 a.m."
I won't mind, but it's my fault. Stupid ideas.
Yeah. I was like, all right, finally, I get to see what Brian's talking about 2 a.m. And he's like, how about 3? And I'm like, all right, boys pumped up.
Oh, man. All right, guys. Well, being that it is 3 a.m. for some of us, we'll go ahead and kick it off. So we're going to go from 31 down to 1. Of course, I've got graphics made with all of our individual scores, and whatever the actual number it lands on is what our group averages are. Huge thanks to
John. He goes by John Connor. Also...
Oh, I also want to thank him for saving the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
On multiple occasions.
You were kind of a bitch in the third one, but other than that, I like you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Robert Alexis, I think, sent us one as well. But without taking anything away from anybody, John Connor did some serious hardcore math.
Yeah, and, like it's I called it nerdception because this is like the fan of fans of 31 on 31. I've got a whole spreadsheet. I got statistics here all the way down.
I was very moist reading that stuff.
Yeah, I was reading
numbers.
that. I was like, holy crap, like that's pretty cool. Like, how long did it take? And so, yeah, I have some graphics made for some of them. A few of them I'm just going to read because they're pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll kick it off with 31. So for the group,
I think just if we can preemptively just what do they call it, the Lomax Award. I think after this list we're going to rename it the Chandler Award. So
You would think.
I am
Maybe.
ready to just have an interesting little discussion here with my bold takes.
oh yeah, we do have a couple super chats. Thank you. Have been looking forward to this all day. No better way to end a Friday than with these 4 cats. Hope you're all doing well. Thank you. We're doing well. At least I'm doing well. I don't know about these other guys.
I'm in pink, motherfucker.
Robert Parks, thank you. I believe that was his first super chat too, because he got a bunch of balloons and shit for free. Benjamin Shelby, what do you want to see in a modern vampire movie? I just want to see. I want to see it go back to how they were in the 80s, where it's like it's gore and it's horror. Like we're getting out of that stage where the Twilight stink has finally dissipated, and we're getting things like Renfield, and we got the Lost Voyage of Demeter coming out, and so it feels like we're getting there just in time for them to announce a Twilight remake. Bastards.
I want to see more vampires like Severin from Near Dark. That's what I want to see.
Just having fun. There you go. Amanda made it. Hey, Amanda. CP's pretty in pink.
Your check's in the mail, Amanda. Thank you.
Bryce Bailey, speaking of vampires and werewolves, do you guys want to see another try at a dark universe? If so, how do you want it to go? No, not really. I'm kind of getting burnt out on everything being a universe, so I actually like, for example, you had Lee Winnell do The Invisible Man. I want to see just a director take one of these properties and do something modern with it. I don't want to see them shaking hands with each other and crossing over. I don't think we need to.
When we get to Renfield, I'll give you my thoughts on that. But
Okay. Joe Gilbert, love the debriefs. Lost Boys and Teen Wolf are my fave. 2 awesome picks. One of them should have been number 1. Collins McSweeney, super sticker.
You're a
All
super
right.
sticker.
With that being said, number 31, the worst as far as the group average goes, is American Werewolf in Paris. I had it at 26, CP at 30, Brian at 29, and Uncle Sean was correct with 31.
Yes.
So American Werewolf in Paris is weird. It's one of those movies that I would never defend, but I think because I saw it as a kid in the theaters and I've always like had this guilty pleasure for it, I just kind of like it. Like I know it's bad, especially when you attach it to American Werewolf in London. I think that's its biggest Achilles heel, but it's still got kind of that early noughties trashy kind of quality to it that I like. Like I don't think the CGI is nearly as bad as some other examples, though it is bad. But I just have fun with it. It's dumb fun for me.
It has a nice soundtrack.
Yes.
Yeah. Awkward. At a weird time, too. There's like awkwardly placed, really good songs, mind you. But like it was like, this doesn't fit what's happening on the screen. Okay. I dig the
Bush
music,
during a sex scene? Are you kidding me? That's perfect placement.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the band name, sure. But Brian, help me out on this. Was the cinematography a little
Shit.
odd? Shit? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I think Brian had more of an issue with the audio.
Yeah, I did. I had a problem with the audio. I watched it through my headphones, and I do think sound-wise, that's always the best way to watch something, but not with American Werewolf in Paris, because everything just felt like it was all ADR. Like maybe they'd cocked up recording on location, so they kind of thought, oh crap, we're gonna have to do all the sound again in the studio, because it all just seemed, like you can almost taste the atmosphere on a any given scene in a film, and to me, the atmosphere didn't seem to match the scenes we were in.
Yeah.
For most of the film. So yeah.
Interesting.
I was dying for wide shots. Like when they open the movie where they're gonna like bungee jump off the Eiffel Tower. It's like, show me wide. Like what?
Yeah.
Why are we so close? Like you're gonna bungee jump, for Pete's sake. Pull us back a little bit.
Yeah, it's not a well-made film at all.
And just goofy ideas. Like I mean, even like you just said, like we're bungee jumping off the Eiffel Tower. How does that even work? Doesn't it go out? Is that jumping to your death immediately? Like I don't. It's my understanding of the construction of it, but and then like just overly.
No, you slide down and just everything's okay.
Yeah, there you go. Just cheese grater down the side of it. But like overly convoluted mythology, and then It's like the part where when she's trying to get him to calm down, so she takes her shirt off. It's like, here, grab my boobs to calm down. Like, even on a like, I don't think
I did
that's
the
how
opposite
that
of
works.
calming down. Yeah,
Right. I think in that moment I would have a different reaction from like, oh, now my heart is going slower now. I just like nonsense the whole movie.
yeah. It makes me
It's great.
watch the Before trilogy a different way now. Like, if only.
Felt like it was written by a bunch of frat boys. When
Yeah.
they're
Condom
drunk.
balloons.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That and the train when like they were like touring Europe to like just do pranks like Jackass before it was Jackass but shitty.
Just exactly. I mean, just like these ideas that are just so corny, and I don't know. And I was coming into this totally new to the franchise. I hadn't seen
Either.
London. I hadn't seen either one before. And so even in that context, and actually at the time I watched the London, and at the time this movie wasn't in the list yet. I just went, oh, I got to check out the other one. I just have to know what is this other movie that people have been crapping on since it came out that has all those awesome songs in it. So I watched it just because, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is. I can see why if that first one was sacred to you, immediately this is just awful. But like Cody said, I mean, I'd agree with him. Like it's a charming late '90s kind of watchable awful.
Yeah.
Like it's indefensible, but it's like goofy fun.
Yeah. Who's the lead actor again?
The drummer for the Oneaters.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in a bunch of
shit.
stuff that
What
I
was his
can't
name?
defend. He's in Dead Men on Campus,
Everett
where
Scott,
Tom Everett Scott.
Tom
Yep,
Everett
that's
Scott.
it.
Yeah, Dead Men on Campus. I love that movie, but it's awful. It's like it's more like frat boy shit.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just it's a movie that I hate to love.
Yeah, no, we all have like that handful. Like
Speaking of a movie that I love to
Justice
hate,
League?
though. Oh yeah, yeah.
love you.
Not your finest moment.
It's
But
early.
anyway, 30 is Twilight.
Oh,
I should have been correct on this one, but I had it at 31.
Sean tried.
Yeah, Sean tried 25. Brian and you agreed
love
at
this
28. I'm fairly confident that my memory serves well that Brian and Sean were at one point kind of coercing trying to get the whole franchise in here.
I was never pushing for the whole franchise, but I would have been the person that added it. But
I'll
Brian's
jump
like,
on this
yeah, do
landmine.
it.
Brian was using his peer pressure on me. Hey, did any
Brian's
of
like
you
the
guys-
devil in the shoulder. It'll be hilarious. Come on.
Any of you guys go to a midnight screening when this one came out? Because this was back before they did Thursday previews. So I went to an actual midnight screening when this one
Twilight?
opened up for Twilight, and there was a guy that I don't know if he got confused. He showed up in Darth Vader cosplay, full Vader suit, midnight screening at Twilight. I had a wife that she read all the books. She was drinking the Twilight Kool-Aid.
I don't know where they reference the word Twilight in Star Wars. I don't even know if that's in a script at all. Twilight.
Yeah, I don't know. And I'm trying to imagine he's in Texas. Like that's just uncomfortable. Darth Vader at Twilight. So, yeah, it's great.
Maybe he's
was,
just trying to
uh,
hide himself.
Another one with a great soundtrack. Doesn't fit the movie at all, but a lot of songs I love.
No.
Muse.
I was a projectionist for all of the Twilight movies,
Cool.
and
Lucky.
because I was kind of the lowest on the totem pole, because I was the last one to get hired.
Was it
within
digital yet?
I literally had to do all the staff screenings for the
Was
Twilight.
it digital yet or film, Brian?
It became digital for the last two.
So you had to sit through the film for the first.
So the first three I had to make up the prints, then I had to check them, and then put the staff shows on. But it's just every time they came up, it was quite a painful night. Especially because a lot of the female staff were like, the next Twilight movie.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, my wife at the time was just amped like it was
Oh, man.
a Star Wars movie. Like she
Yeah.
would have been in Darth Vader attire, and I was like, "What the hell is this?"
Sean, by any chance is your microphone unplugged?
Well, he's sitting about 60 feet away from it.
It just seems very, very tuned into the cans, almost like the mic is right next to it. So, is it?
It says it's the right one.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You're fine then. I just wanted
sounds
it's just
good.
impressive
It
with
was
how
far.
far away it literally sounds like the cans are right here. So I was making sure. I've had that issue on StreamYard before where it selects the wrong one. Nonetheless, okay, Twilight. I've seen it twice now, but I saw it when it hit Blu-ray. I bought it for my sister because she was at the age where she would have liked something like this, and I sat and watched it with her, and like I was like, okay, like it's not the worst thing ever, but
No.
whatever. I would never watch this again. And that's when only one movie existed. Then I watched
Yeah.
It was a saga.
Yeah, then I watched New Moon, and
Oh.
it was pretty hilarious. I was me, and I was at my best friend's house, and there was 2 other guys, and there was a bunch of girls that came, and they brought New Moon. Like, we're there to be with the girls. They brought New Moon to watch. And every time they left the room to like go gossip or whatever, I grabbed the fucking remote and I'd fast forward like 3 chapters.
That is the longest.
I
that
was so
movie.
miserable. They were like, "Man, this is a short movie." And so, yeah, I've only seen the first 2, but I despise this franchise for what it did to vampire movies and werewolf movies. To where ever since that saga, that like they've just gone away. Completely.
I will say I do think Eclipse is the best one. Now what I've noticed amongst fans of the book is that tends to be the worst one for them. Whereas people who actually like vampire movies, I think will probably appreciate that one a bit more. It's directed by David Slade, who did 30 Days a Night, and he brings as much of the viciousness as he can to what is essentially a 12A vampire movie. But I do think it's the best of the bunch. But that's not saying a right lot.
Well, I
take your
will
word
say
for it.
I was dragged to opening night. The first mistake I made with a wedding ring every night, and on the last one, the second part of part 4, when like the climax happens, I'm like, all right, we're getting some deaths, and then it's just a dream. I was like, oh, you guys are dicks. What the hell is that?
What I'll say about this one movie, though, this original film, is that like it kind of goes along, and I think it's the same author too. It goes along the same lines as 50 Shades of Grey, to where all the women go nuts for this. Like, I want a relationship like this, and you watch it, and you're like, that's the worst relationship ever.
50
Like,
Shades is originally a Twilight fan film.
Yeah, it was fan fiction that was converted.
Yeah, but even just the Twilight version is just like, these 2 are sick. Like, one of them's an old man, and the other one
Dead old
she's
man.
like, kill me, I love you, just end my life. And it's like, what the hell is
I'll
this?
save myself for you.
Yeah,
It's
just
so toxic. It's like epitomizes what you shouldn't be romanticizing, in particular for the target audience.
Yeah.
Hey, did you go to
every
school with my
behavior-
grandpa's grandpa?
But it's like, even just as soon as I met him, I was madly, deeply in love with him. I want him to change me to be like him while I'm in high school. Like, literally, she's begging him to kill her at the end of the second movie so they could be together. And you're like, this is so everything you don't teach teenage girls about relationships.
And it's
And
the
I put it
actually,
higher than you guys on my
he
list.
might be her grandpa's grandpa. So, so I wouldn't put it past that franchise, to be honest.
yeah, and
throw a
it's
little incest in there for some seasoning.
the worst representation of being a new kid at a school. They don't flock to you and act like you're the new toy. They're like, the fuck is this person? You gotta break in. It's not like people are like, hi, I'm so and so. What's up?
Wait, and that was even part of the fantasy of it, as my wife was explaining it to me. It's like, well, Bella's supposed to be so normal, and she doesn't feel interesting, but all of a sudden, this super interesting guy is really into her. But, like, the whole thing is built around everyone flocks to her always.
Right.
And so, like, everyone is just drawn to her. So that even the idea that she's, like, this loner outside weirdo that no one connects, it doesn't even add up. So I don't even understand, like, what it tapped into that people so connected with this bizarre fantasy.
Plus, Sparkle Motion was all standoffish on their own little table.
Not to mention Friend Zone.
Yeah.
Just spends 4 movies getting dick teased until he's
Yeah.
like, oh, never mind, I'll just fuck your daughter in 20 years. Isn't that how it
that
ends?
that was so weird.
He imprints on the newborn baby, like, and they're like, well, it's not exactly romantic, but it kind of is. What?
Oh my God.
Commitment to spark emotion.
Such a classic romance. All right. Well, moving on to number 29. I don't imagine there's going to be much to say about this one. We have Abe Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. And I had it at 30. This was CP's worst. Uncle Sean at 27. Or no, Uncle Sean at 23, excuse me.
Woo!
And Brian at 27.
Gotta love those special effects.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's a shame because this is a movie that I was really excited for because I worked at Target at the time and I was in electronics, and on the back wall there was books for the weirdos that buy books at Target. And there was Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies and Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter sitting next to each other. And I bought the Vampire Hunter one for something to read. My dad read it. I kind of checked it out a little bit. And the book is actually pretty neat. It's a nice little revisionist history. And so I was like, well, this is going to be kind of cool. And then the trailers dropped, and I was like, oh, they CGI'd the fuck out of this one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest problem with the movie. Like, there's some interesting lore in there that they really don't bother to explore. They just kind of touch on. There's so much potential for some really interesting, like, revisionist history, like the book, to where vampires are responsible for American history events.
Yeah.
And even in the book, like by the end of it, if I'm not mistaken, like Abraham Lincoln essentially becomes a vampire by the end of it, and he's like this myth from then on. And the movie just doesn't capture any of that. It's just kind of generic blockbuster with a massive amount of CGI, and he swings around and acts like with some kind of kung fu kind of thing going on. So it's just dull. There's just nothing really to say about it in my mind. It's just like, okay, that happened.
Yeah, I like Mary Elizabeth Winstead, but she was in the movie. That's
Surprisingly, the film for Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies is actually better than this. Which yeah.
And it's weird because like I don't mind. I mean, Inglourious Bastards, I quite enjoy the swerve on history, but with this, I was like, no. Yeah, I don't like. Well, I guess Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I was kind of not about what they did at the end there. So I guess it's a mixed bag with revisionist history.
At the risk of sounding like a stuck record, the reason it doesn't work is because having the revisionist history doesn't say anything. If you look at Inglourious Bastards, we all know how history turned out, and by doing that revisionist history, it becomes a fantasy revenge thriller.
Yeah.
So like every Jew sat in the audience can literally be like, yeah.
It was done well too.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
her face in the smoke, laughing. Oh, that's
yeah.
Gorgeous.
And then Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. You're taking something that is very traditionally a female kind of genre. Women tend to go and watch it. It's very kind of, and as soon as you stick zombies into that, it really does change the essence of what a period drama is. Whereas this, it doesn't say anything with that revisionist history. It's just, hey, what if these events happen, but he was actually a vampire hunter? Oh yeah, what about that? What if? Oh right, okay, yeah. It's literally just those events, and he's a vampire.
Well, in the book, if I'm not, again, it's been years, but I believe there's even a lot of effort put in there to kind of frame how vampires were responsible for slavery and then eventually the Civil War, it's something about blood farming or something like that. So that's a lot of interesting things never even mentioned in the movie.
Pretty offensive too, but
at the same time, yeah.
But you guys keep saying it's revisionist history, supposedly revisionist history. Some of us think that this is the more accurate take on Abraham Lincoln's life. That's why I have it higher up on my list.
That's fair. Fair.
Yeah. I mean, it's schlock. It's
Flat Earth.
It should be. It should be more fun than it is. It takes itself too seriously and has way too much CGI.
That was my problem with it.
And so many of the action sequences turn into video game sequences with the train.
That
the part where they're
horse
like
one.
running on the horses, fighting, and you're like, what? Why? But it's schlocky, goofy fun. So that's why is it a little bit kind of higher for me. It's a little bit more. It's stupid. It's not, once again, not defensible. I can't defend any of it, but
Yeah.
I find it a little bit more watchable of stupid. But I think this is a movie that it's so frustrating because if you're going to do this stupid idea, why would you take it so serious? And why did you spend like an extra $100 million or whatever to make it a CGI fest? You can make the movie for half as much, practical, and it's twice as good.
Yeah. I think we're all guilty in this list of having something that we really can't defend, but it's just like, I just have fun. What?
According to these stats, we really only agreed on like the bottom 4. Where we're like, yeah, that kind of sucks, and everything else is just chaos.
Of all these that we've done, this is the one where I went into it like, oh, I feel out of my league.
Yeah.
Whenever I am so lost. Oh, this is not going to go well for me.
I figured that out by the time I saw where you put Silver Bullet. I was like, he did what? This is going to get weird. That's how it goes. All right. We did have 2 comments about your volume, though, Sean. Does the microphone settings on actual StreamYard have that microphone selected? Sometimes it defaults to your MacBook.
I checked it. That's
Okay.
Checked your wrench?
This is the last time we'll
whenever
bring
you
it up,
ask-
but just to
when you
make double
ask about
sure.
it, I mean, Mike, it's my Yeti. I'm not.
I can hear you fine. They were like, Sean's quiet, and I'm like, okay.
I mean, Yeti is on there. I've got automatic adjust volume.
Okay.
I mean,
We're good.
So I
can
don't,
hear you.
I don't know
I
because
can too.
all the things are.
Yeah, they're saying in the chat, Ishin says I can hear you fine.
Okay.
If I mispronounce that, I apologize.
Gotcha. All right, let's catch up on a couple super chats really quick. Let's see. Amanda with another one. I'm glad you finally mentioned the last voyage of Demeter. It's so weird seeing pirates and vampires, but it seems to work for me. Yeah, I didn't even know that movie was coming out when I did my most anticipated. And then everybody's like, I'm surprised you didn't do this one. You love vampires. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And it looks good.
The trailer started, and my wife goes, "Oh, this looks really good. I can't wait to check this out." Before the vampires showed up. And then as soon as like a dead body falls down, she goes, "Nope, I'm out. Nope, not watching that one." I've never seen her so hard go from like, "Oh, I can't wait to see that." Nope, I'm out.
Question for each of you: who in the group would you all pick to most likely have the most negative reaction to a movie all of you were stoked for? It depends on the movie.
Yeah.
CP and Brian tend to be they tend to lean a lot more favorably on more art house stuff and
Brian more than me.
well, you have your moments, and then me and Sean are kind of more the simpletons more often than not, where we're just like, ooh, blood, action, explosions. So yeah, it depends on the movie. Sometimes I'm scared to death to recommend something to Brian because I'm like, don't you fucking come at me and tell me Breaking Bad sucks. Don't do it, Brian. These streams are always a comfort watch for me. Busy at the moment, looking forward to watching this on playback. Hope all is well. Yes, sir.
Cheers.
Sean Sheridan.
Hey, Sean.
Amusingly enough, Pattinson played a vampire who had nothing to do with bats. That is amusing.
Good call.
Twilight is the perfect example in making a good actor look like a bad actor. Yeah, to the point where a decade plus later, they're like, you cast Twilight boy as Bruce Wayne.
Anna Kendrick had quite a career for a bit there, too. One nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah, she looks incredibly like out of place in that movie, where she's just like, I think I'm above this.
Yeah,
that's it. Whatever. That's actually. I always forget she's in it, and I remember whenever I first watched it, I was like, she should be the star of this movie. She's way more charismatic than the lead of this movie. She has very little screen time, does very little, but she just has a presence, even in this bad movie.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I remember her, and it was in this small part, and then obviously she's done a few other things since Twilight, but always forget that she's in it.
All girls Go ahead.
So is it just me or Sean gone louder now?
I'm okay with it.
It's a good loud though. But the volume.
I did turn my volume up. I can turn it down a little bit.
Just
a
enough.
skosh. Just a skosh.
Ah,
it's almost perfect.
He's got the biggest audience.
And then
Hello?
Andrew, perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Good.
Yes.
Excellent.
Andrew Jones, hey gentlemen, hope everyone is well. Was a little curious about your opinions on Where or Howl.
I wanted Howl on the thing, but
Should have put it in then.
We only have so many options. We only have so many. I couldn't
thought
leave it to chance that one of you screw nuts wouldn't let the right.
I
one in
thought
on there.
that whenever I watched Year 31, and you have a whole moment where you're just like, "Oh, this movie should have been on this list." Oh well, I'm like, "Bitch, you had 5 choices."
Yeah, and he's trying to get Sean to put the friggin' entire.
He's
Twilight
trying to do what I used to do to my
Right.
little brothers, where I secure my shit and then I try to like be the devil and there's like, get the other thing that I want. You'll want
Yeah, there was like all these classic movies that weren't on the list.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to think, which movies have I never seen? This is an opportunity to see
Yeah.
classics I've never seen. And Brian's like, or all 5 Twilight movies. You know, just saying. Or all 5 Twilight movies. 2 good options.
I looked at the list. I'm like, all of these are about our age. None of these are older than us. We don't have anything pre. I think 82. I think 81 maybe.
I don't.
I don't-
I was a little disappointed.
There's nothing in
that,
from the 70s.
I was a little disappointed that we didn't get one of the Universal movies in, but the polls went the ways that they went,
Yeah.
and there was just too much to be able to do everything.
It's your fault, guys. So
Yeah.
whenever you want to complain, you did it.
chose this.
I think one year we need to do a Universal versus Hammer.
Are there 31
Oh yeah.
for sure?
Well,
For-
you have to
yeah,
a
this
miserable
chisel it
31
down.
or
This-
an
this-
entertaining 31?
No, there's 31 just of Hammer. So
Yeah.
at least and counting.
You'd have to whittle it down then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd have to whittle it down. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, moving on to number 28, we have Brian's least favorite, Van Helsing. Brian had it at 31. Uncle Sean had it at 30. CP had it at 20. I had it at 24. This is one of those movies, just like American Werewolf in Paris, to where it's not a hill that I'm going to die on, but I have never not been entertained by this movie. And I saw it in theaters when I was a kid. Maybe, again, that's a part of it, but I've always had a lot of fun with it. It's very hokey. It's very corny, especially the dialect of the vampire characters is like really turned up.
Yeah.
Um,
And the
at-
score is a little too much. It's like, dude,
Yeah,
you're the score for the wrong movie.
yeah. And at the time, I thought that there was some interesting creativity there to where you had the wolf man like ripping off flesh to show a wolf underneath for a change. And the way that they had the monstrous vampire bat for Dracula. And it was enough of the classic elements with some modern spin. And I've always had a lot of fun with this one. Like, it's nowhere near as good as The Mummy, which is the other Stephen Sommers movie that is much more popular, but I've always liked it.
Yeah. Whoa. Hey there.
I
I
is not a fan. So taking
I
Got worked up.
praise
Started-
for Van Helsing.
enjoyed it
smashing
for
stuff.
very, very similar reasons, Cody. It's like I can't defend why. It's just it's sugar. It's just
Yeah.
rotten sugar.
Yeah.
Like
I'll
That's
use a Uncle Sean analogy. It's copious amounts of butter and sugar, and it's just
yeah,
like, yes.
dunked in glitter and deep fried.
It's
There you
more
go.
garish than CP's t-shirt. I'll say that much. It's
Brian, correct me if I'm wrong. You still have not seen the entire
Nope.
movie.
I've tried 3 times over the course of my life. Once in the cinema when it came out. It was the first film I ever walked out of in the cinema. And I get to that midpoint where the female vampires come out of that well, and I'm just like,
30 minutes in.
is that 30? It feels like the bloody midpoint. It's just the CGI on that. It's just he had such a success with The Mummy that I feel like he just thought he could fix all of his problems by just splurging CGI onto the screen. The problem is he didn't have enough. He had big budgets, but not that big. Not to make every single scene a CGI shot, and it just
Every single scene.
every single scene. Yeah, it's yeah. I can't get through it, and I hate what he does to the Universal monsters. They're not the Universal monsters to me. Not that I grew up with anyway.
That's probably a recurring complaint for a lot of these late 90s, early 2000s movies, is that they leaned too much on CGI. And people forget that Jurassic Park was half and half. That's why it worked.
Well, that happens anytime we have some new technology that Hollywood figures out. I mean, we're doing it now with the de-aging shit, where they figured it out and now they're doing it all the time before it's really ready. Yeah. And now we're going to look back and be like, remember how bad this looked 10 years ago and they stuck it in everything and now it's flawless? Like, it's going to be the same thing.
Like dead Princess.
Whoa.
I agree.
That was
Sean.
creepy. I'd never seen it before. It was the first time watch for this list. And I went in hoping, it'll be campy fun, like not good, but just goofy. And I just didn't find it very watchable. And it was the really frustrating kind where you're like, these are all actors I like. This should be a fun genre. There's plenty of attempts at action and stuff, but it was just so cartoonish, so much over the top CGI where everything's just cranked up to that other level of silliness that I just could not get into it at all. And I was hoping to.
Gotcha.
Good call, Dice. Both Hugh Jackman and Kate Beckinsale, just gorgeous. And both same length of hair in that movie, too.
Absolutely. I'll take either one of them. Number 20. There you go. Don't be greedy, sir. Number 27, Blade Trinity. So we were pretty close on this one, actually. We got 26 at the lowest with CP. I'm right there at 25 with Brian, and Sean a little more forgiving at 22. And this is just one of those movies that is absolutely terrible, but I still have fun with it. Like, it's easily the worst of the three, and like by a lot. But
whenever I watch Blade and Blade 2, I have to watch Blade Trinity as well. It's like I know it's crap. I know it ain't anywhere near the quality of the first two, but I just need to finish that trilogy. It's just like, all right, that last one was a bit poo, but it still entertained.
It's one of those movies, when I saw it in theaters, it took me like 3 watches before I stopped convincing myself it was awesome. I was like, that was awesome, right? Ryan Reynolds? No, just me? Okay. So yeah.
Yeah, very pretty people. There's definitely pretty people.
Oh, absolutely,
in that movie.
Absolutely. They spent
another buy movie.
See,
weirdest cast ever beyond the pretty people, though. It's literally an American Pie film. Like, you got Natasha Lyonne, you've got Patton Oswalt, and like all these people. You're like, what are you doing here, making weapons for Blade?
Patton Oswalt doing the Daryl role.
See, the thing that made me elevate this one is all of the interviews that have come out about the behind-the-scenes stories of whatever went down, and everyone that's not Wesley Snipes' friend is like, oh, he went crazy. Like, he was nuts. He demanded that everyone call him Blade on set, and he was choking the director, and he didn't film half the movie. His stand-in shot it, and it was just crazy as can be.
There's a shot in the movie where he refused to open his eyes.
Yeah.
The shot, so they CGI'd his eyes on top of his face.
And it's just like so many bizarre things about it that makes me wonder, like, what was the original script? Where did this thing go wrong? That they thought it was good, and how much of it was Wesley Snipes' bad behavior? I'm so curious.
And then you wonder why he didn't pay his taxes. He's stubborn.
I ain't got to pay Blade. Blade ain't got to pay taxes. Oh, Lord. All right. Moving on to one that is sure to upset some people.
One? Did you say
that
one?
Is The Howling. This is one that we actually inadvertently changed an entry to get in here because The Howling just felt like something that had to be on this list, and none of us were all that fond of it. I had it the highest, shockingly. We had Sean at 27, CP 24, Brian 21, and me at 20. And this is one of those movies that's weird because when you talk about best werewolf movie of all time, and there's not a lot to pick from, not as many as vampires, people always say American Werewolf in London or The Howling. And I've seen this movie 3 times now. And while I like elements of it, I've never really been all that enamored with it. Like, it seems like some interesting style, and I like some of the transformation effects. Fun fact, the guy that did the effects for this is the same guy that went on to do the effects for The Thing, I believe. And so I love Dee Wallace, even though it seems like she's in most of the movies we end up talking about. beyond that, I don't know. I guess narratively, the movie always just leaves me asking questions about like how this whole convent works, and like it's all the way to where they have the serial killer plotting, and you have the psychiatrist that's in on it, and what is the end goal here? It always leaves me a little empty, going, okay, that was cool, I guess, but it's not an all-time classic for me. Never has been.
I'm just glad Sean has it lower than I do, because I pulled the audible. I had Trick or Treat in, and about 40 minutes in, I'm like, can I rechange? I don't know what's going on. What's everybody talking about? And yeah.
Joe Dante, I find, is a director that I don't really vibe with his stuff as much as I think I do. Like, I love Gremlins, and that makes me think I'm a Joe Dante fan, and then I think of this, and I think of The Burbs, and I think of Gremlins 2, and I'm like, no, not really, actually.
There's a little a little interview thing with Joe Dante on the Howling, and he talks about how the Howling sequels are all crap.
Fun fact, the Howling is the reason why we ended up doing the polls, because we wanted to include the Howling, but then there was like 9 more shit movies, and we were like, no.
So he talks about all them being crap, and that he wished they wouldn't touch his stuff. And then he says that actually the best thing that kind of was a rip-off of something he'd done was Critters. He actually said that. And I actually think Critters is better than Gremlins. I will say it is better than Gremlins. Gremlins is one of them films that as a kid was awesome, and then when you watch it as an adult, you're like, this really doesn't work. It is awesome, as it used to. It's not.
How dare you?
It's not that great.
My wife made me laugh the other night. My wife is so far removed from movie commentary that it's like we're literally polar opposites in that respect. And so she saw something on Facebook, and she goes, I saw this thing on Facebook, like this doll, this little monster. She goes, what's that fucking thing that Brian likes? And I was like, Critters. Just the fact that she knew that killed me, because that's like one of 8 movie facts that she retains. It's like Brian likes that Critters thing.
Yeah. I mean, I just didn't, when it comes to the Howling, it just didn't leave any impact. The ending was the only thing that really stood out to me. It was like, okay, that's a little clever. Okay.
Yeah.
But I didn't connect with any of the characters. There wasn't like that standout performance or that any one thing. It was just kind of, I'm looking at 31 movies, and the ones in the very bottom spots were like, oh, those were memorable for how much I was like, oh, this is not good. This was just like a blank spot in my mind of, I just don't even have much to say about it. It's just kind of there. Like, there's a coven out there, community thing, and then a final scene that was memorable. Nothing else.
Yeah, this was a movie that like I just had gone my entire life without seeing, and people were like, "Oh, American Werewolf in London, The Howling," and I was like, all right, let's see what this is about." And I was like, "I'm the asshole."
Yeah, I want to know what is the thing that they think makes it pop.
Yeah,
because there's other movies on this. There's other movies on this list that I have pretty low, but I can be like, oh, I totally get why other people would. I get what you're into on this, but it's not for me. This one, I was just like, it just feels kind of just there, dull.
I think you could actually do a pretty decent remake of The Howling and make it very relevant, because I think the idea of a secret society getting up to some dark ass stuff would be quite relevant in today's kind of climate, with films like Sound of Freedom kind of doing big business at the box office. I think you could do the werewolf as an analogy for the dark underbelly of Hollywood or whatever. But for me, the opening of The Howling, I really got into when it seems like, oh, it's going to be like a movie about a serial killer that's also a werewolf, and that using her to kind of track it, and then it goes to this bloody Camp Crystal Lake for adults. But
All right, let's slow down.
So, yeah, and then it just loses me. But like, I saw this first time last year, and I was like, "This ain't good. This ain't good at all." And then I watched it again this year for the 31 on 31, and because I knew what I was going into this time around, it did improve for me. I did enjoy it more. I could kind of take it on its own terms, but I just wish I didn't know its reputation as being this absolute classic werewolf movie.
You didn't buy it sight unseen, expecting it to be on the list, and then when we had our 31, it wasn't there, and I was like, "Well, I have it. I have to put it on." What the fuck? Can't return it now.
They got slick on me. Oh man! All right, moving on to number 25. We have Fright Night Part 2. This was one that I put on the list, and I had it the highest at 15, CP at 25, Brian at 20, and Sean pretty low at 29. This
Sean's
is a movie
my
that
fullback, man.
I've always been a massive fan of Fright Night, and I had never seen this movie because it's very hard to find. It's mostly out of print. Luckily, there was a copy on YouTube. Otherwise, we would have struggled.
Yeah.
But it's a movie that I never saw until about a year ago, and a buddy of mine recommended it. He's like, "Dude, the second one is such a good sequel," and I'm like, "Really? I never hear anybody talk about it." So I checked it out, and I really enjoyed it. Like, it kind of retraces some of the plot elements of the first movie, but does it in a different way, and sends it to where Charlie is being seduced, and now Peter Vincent has to go in and kind of be the Charlie role, trying to get him out and make everybody aware. There's some really good creature design. You got like the werewolf in there, and the one that's the vampire that's always rollerblading.
Because
it was, yeah,
it's like baseball.
Style.
It's the 80s, man.
Yeah, who cares? Tommy Lee Wallace directed this, and I'm a big fan of his stuff. He did Halloween 3. He did the 1990 It miniseries. He did that vampire sequel I've never seen, but I'm not going to hold that against him. That's John Bon Jovi's fault.
This is his best film.
Also has Diego Luna.
Correct. That is correct.
I watched it last year.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
but yeah. This
terrible.
is a pretty. It's obviously underseen, but I also find it to be underrated. So I enjoy Fright Night too. I'm glad I put it on the list.
Yeah, me and my brothers used to watch both the original Fright Night films a lot when we were kids. My brother is a big champion of Fright Night 2. He's just like, as far as he's concerned, it's on par with the first one. I wouldn't quite say it was on par for the first one, but I do think it gets a bad rap. I think as far as 80s horror sequels go, it's actually it's pretty first rate.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't get the hate.
Yeah, it's well, the first one's more a pseudo remake, an homage to Rear Window, and this is more like a vampire, like an 80s vampire movie that was more about dealing with lust and Well, I don't know. As a straight man, I guess that's the way I saw it, because it was a hot chick, and I was like, "Yeah, I understand."
Straight man in an all pink.
Yeah, man. Barbie, baby.
There we go.
I'm
Sean,
more an Oppenheimer man myself.
We know. I didn't even have to click on your fucking review. I was like 5 out of 5. Bet both testicles right now. But Sean, you watched all of the Fright Nights for the first time for this, did you not?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I was hoping we put the Lila one in there too, but sorry, Sean.
No. Trust me. Avoid at all costs.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's a lot of even where my placement being so low comes from. No nostalgia, no connection to the movies. So they're kind of one of those ones that, like, if I'd watched Fright Night for the first time with you, Cody, at your house, with you unpacking your connections to it. Because I mean, even we were at MegaCon, went with you to go get pictures taken with the, star of the movie. And so, like, we watched it together to have that deeper connection to it. I probably would resonate with them more. But as is it, like, you just a lot of times without that context surrounding the movie, it's like you see the cheesiness of the 80s and like, well, this is a goofy, hammy performance. And so then this feels like a little bit of a rehash, not as strong of a plot. It's missing that rear view window that kind of made the first one a little bit interesting. And but it does have Uncle Rico in it, so I did appreciate that.
Sean, was there frustration that people are asking more for your autograph than the actors?
Hey, you would be surprised. It's actually it's kind of a blessing in disguise for me because I'm the one that's attracted to all these different tables. But when we go to these megacons, all like the 80s stars, with the exception of the Cobra Kai people, have like 2 people in line. And then you have like, you know, the Scream cast and Vincent D'Onofrio and John Bernthal that got like a mile line.
Yeah.
We literally walked up to Anthony Michael Hall with no line. We're like, hey, Mr. Hall, what's up? Let's get a picture. Yeah. Anthony Michael Hall, tonight. No line. I met Henry Winkler. I was 5th in line. We went up to Chris Sarandon after having to go and get money and then come back. It was like a 30-minute trip, and we were like 10th in line.
Chris Sarandon also,
Yeah.
You know,
and Nightmare Before Christmas.
Posers.
So he's got even that side of it. That's how I felt. I was like, I'm going to go get my autograph by Anthony Michael Hall. This is a travesty.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty wild. It's wild. Moving on, we have number 24 and Ginger Snaps. Wow, look at that split.
Holy smokes.
Oh, good. Cody, you have it lower. I thought I was going to get myself in trouble, but you're taking the hit for me.
28. Yeah, wait till Dog Soldiers. I had it 28. Sean had it 26.
Man,
woo! Brian, greatest thing ever. So this was a first time watch for me. There was a few on this list that were first time watches, and this is one that I really looked forward to because I've always heard nothing but really good things about Ginger Snaps. And I already knew a little bit about it. I knew that it was going to be kind of using the werewolf and liken curse for puberty and going through womanhood, and I'm like, okay, that could be curious, that'd be interesting. And the older sister who is actually going through all this, I really like her. She was in quite a few movies in the early 2000s. The other girl, correct. The other girl, the younger sister, is actually Bev from the 1990 It miniseries, which I love. And I thought she was terrible in this movie. Like, it is all of her really over the top expressions. I never really got into the character all that much. I wish we did this more recently so I could rattle off more things that I had an issue with because I kind of just forgot a lot of what didn't work for me. But I remember I watched this with my kids, and even my kids were like, so this is going on the bottom, right? And I'm like, not quite, but it's low. And it just, I don't know. Maybe I saw it too late. Maybe it's one of those 2000s that if I saw it in the 2000s, I would get it. But now, not so much.
This is one for me where I was thinking within the first 5 minutes, oh, I know exactly who this is for. I know exactly who would love this. I get why they would love this movie. Just like with the characters and the nature of the girls and what their interactions with each other is like, I totally get why there's a group of people that love this. Yeah. And then as it kind of went along, I was like, it's not for me, but I'm not confused as to why some people connect with this.
Yeah, I watch it and I'm like, oh, that's the gothic chick that sits in the back of the classroom that draws on her nails with the pen, and I get it.
They're talking about how they would kill themselves and so, like, okay, that's real specific, but at the same time, I know people like that or knew people like that.
Yeah. Edgelord girls in high school. Yeah. But I'm in pink though. Brian, explain 5.
Well, most of the people in the comments seem to be suggesting I'm the only sane one out of the bunch.
I was expecting everyone else to have it in their top 10s. I thought I was the only one that was going to have it way low. So
you said it the
I
way
feel comfortable.
I understand why people would enjoy it. Just it's a little tight budget, little Canadian film that, for what it is, it's fine, but not.
I just think it's got a really great social commentary in more ways than one. The obvious one being, it's about girls going through going through puberty. But I think it's got a lot to say about absent parenting, about the irresponsibility of adults in kids' lives. I also think it's a really solid journey about. Because essentially the main character isn't Ginger, it's the sister, and
which is why I didn't get into it.
And she's the one who she also goes through a change, not physical but mental, in the sense that when we start the film off, she's very dark, very dour, very depressing, very obsessed with death. They're taking all them pictures where they, we're going to die together, and all this kind of stuff. By the end of the film, she's completely embraced life. She rejects the notion of dying with a sister. She rejects the darkness, so to speak, and decides actually it's why I didn't particularly like the sequel, the direct sequel, Ginger Snaps 2, because I think they don't build on that. They actually take a step backwards. But I just think there's a lot going on in it that it is quite refreshing for horror movies. I think more horror movies should have this much stuff going on in them. And I think the creature effects, even though they're like really cheap, I like the physicality of them. I like the disgusting kind of design of them. I just think it's a really well-made, low-budget horror film that, we have so many studio horrors these days. You've got Blumhouse, just putting out a horror film every week, and they're so bland. They're so, it's all CGI crap and jump scares, and it's just like there's nothing original about them. There's no really great social commentary about them. It doesn't have anything that separates it from the crowd of horror movies that are out there, and I just feel like Ginger Snaps does that. So yeah.
Brian, when you went through your first period, did it feel very similar?
It did. It felt very similar. I think I'm going through it now, to be honest.
Oh, Lord. All right, catching up on Super Chats really quick. Amanda says, do a mini 31. Chucky, Annabelle, Leprechaun, Gremlins. That would be hilarious. We'll put it in the back pocket for when...
Dolls, maybe? Swap out Leprechaun and put Puppet Master in?
No, there's like 17 of those.
I don't know. I just know one.
I can't watch those anyway because one of the directors got mad at me for not liking Blood and Honey, so I'm not allowed on that set. Don't want to get off topic, but I was just curious if you guys ever thought about doing a Hong Kong cinema themed 31 on 31. Oh, Sean's nipples just got hard with big three martial arts actors, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, and Donnie Yen. I have zero experience in Hong Kong cinema, so that would be rough for me, but we will...
I would tag out and have Dennis of the Blue Corner take my spot because I know he's seen all of that shit.
Yeah. It might be cool to do a Hitchcock, Argento, Fincher. You had Brian and you said Argento.
Yeah.
Brian said, "Ooh, oh."
Hitchcock's got more than 31 films.
I'll do the Hitchcock one, but we can take Argento straight out of there.
Told you.
Sorry, no Argento for me.
We'll rank his scores. Just want to say much love to you guys. You guys have inspired me to start a podcast of my own. Much love. So glad Vampire and Werewolves finally got a 31 on 31.
Cheers.
Awesome, dude. Good luck. AJ, the wrestling fan in me is why I like Blade Trinity, but I acknowledge it's bad. Oh, yeah.
Triple H is the bad guy, guys.
There you go. Weird cast. What is your favorite horror movie creature? I mean, it's hard for me not to pick vampires. I've always been a big vampire guy, so that would be mine.
The Mother.
Yeah,
moving on to 20. Oh, go ahead.
Guess it'd say the same. The Xenomorph.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. The Predator. Predator would be up there for me. Teen Wolf. I tried to save this one, guys.
Wow.
But yeah, we got a weird one here. Me at 10, CP 19, Brian at 26, Sean at 24. This is a weird one on this list because it's straight up just 80s cheese comedy among all these horror films, but I've always loved this one. Like this, The Frighteners, and of course the Back to the Future trilogy are just absolute in my heart. I've watched this movie all throughout my life. This was one of those VHS tapes, and I'm going to date myself a bit here, which is weird being 33 and dating myself. But there was a thing where if you had a VHS tape and it felt really light, you knew it was a shit quality VHS tape. And I had one, and it was this one. I remember I was in Best Buy and I said, "Dad, they got Teen Wolf."
SP.
My dad said, "This is going to be shitty." And I was like, "I don't care, $10." So I've always loved this movie. It's you either love it or you don't. You get it or you don't. You saw it in its prime or you didn't. If you watch it today and said this is cheap and dumb and weird, I get it, but I love it.
I watched it in its prime. Same backstory that you had just had. Oh, the Michael J. Fox, Back to the Future, and there's a movie where he's a wolf. Wow. So I had that whole thing too, but rewatching it, I mean, I just don't know that it worked all that well as a whole for me on just the story. And then also the realization, I don't think I like werewolf as a metaphor for puberty things, or panda as a werewolf, werepanda as a metaphor for puberty stories.
And basketball. White guys playing basketball, you need to be a werewolf.
Now I'm really into that. But like it's just but even to that point, it's like this really weird mix of like coming of age story with a sports movie as a comedy. It's like it's a lot in there, but I don't know. I just, as someone that has been watching it over 30 years now, I didn't get into I just couldn't put it particularly high on my list, if I was being honest.
I'd like to visit the alternate universe because this was shot before Back to the Future, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, that's correct.
I'd like to go to the alternate universe where Back to the Future came out with Rocky Dennis as the lead, and we just got Teen Wolf. What would be the social reaction, like pop culture? How would it feel about?
Watch The Flash and you'll find out.
That's true.
Is everybody well aware that there is a dick at the end of this movie? Doesn't sound like it. Okay. So if you watch
I mean in the
Wolf,
bleachers?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like a literal dick, not like the bull.
Yeah. In the bleachers, yeah. I have heard this, yeah.
Yes. So if you watch the movie, for those at home, this will be worth the price of admission. If you watch the very end of the movie, right before it freeze frames, where everybody's celebrating the big game win, up in like this corner of the frame, one of the extras in the background has their pants unbuttoned and their dick out. And it's never been washed away in a Blu-ray or anything like that. They've come out since and said, oh, there's not really a penis there. It's just that, no, there's a dick there. You could tell.
Has it been 4 years? I feel like that's a stat that we would have got a couple of years ago.
I'm telling you. So anyway, that's why I have it at number 10, because there's a
Dynamite special.
Well, now that you remind me of that, I want to rethink my list. That's a compelling argument.
It's like a car wreck. You get to the end of it and you're like, the dick's coming. All right, and the movie's over. Awesome. All right, number 22. Number 22, we've got Stake Land. This is one of the ones that I threw in. We were fairly close here, except for Dickhead here. I had 17. Brian had a little higher than me, and CP at 27, Uncle Sean at 19. This is a movie that I've cherished for a long time because this was like the only serious vampire movie that came out in a long stretch of time after Twilight. And I remember it was one of those weird movies I'd never heard of, and I saw like a Facebook advertisement for it. And this is back when I used to utilize my uncle as well, CP. And so I was like, well, they got it. Let's check it out. And I was really impressed with how it's grim, which is a bit
pretty
too much
gory
for some
that
people.
time too. Yeah,
but it was like such a nice palate cleanser because all we had was Twilight, and so the fact that it was so hard the other direction, just bleak, no hope whatsoever, post-apocalyptic, everybody dies, including a baby in the first 5 minutes. I was like, yes, they're back. I really enjoy this one. I like the post-apocalyptic vampire mix. There's a cool scene where like the bad guy is like dropping vampires out of a helicopter to take out a little gated community. It's got a lot of style, and I like the sequel too, The Stake Lander. Not many people talk about it, but it's almost as good.
I said it in my video. I have like Twilight / Walking Dead PTSD, and this came out around that time, so I avoided it like the plague. So I only first saw it now, and with 13 years worth of apocalypse movies, it just felt like a new Marvel movie for me. I was just like, I wish I had watched this back then. Maybe I would have appreciated it more. I mean, maybe on a second watch this will climb and Renfield will fall. I'm pretty sure that will be the case, at least in Renfield's case.
I just thought it was considering its budget, a very I don't know if enjoyable is the right word because the whole movie's like getting punched in the gut, but like very effective for its budget. A movie that kind of goes to territory that's been explored quite a bit, but finds a way to stand out even just simply because it is so bleak. But it was a good one of these movies, even at its budget.
One of these,
right? And it's like there's other things like this, but it's like, oh yeah, that's a good one of these.
Yeah, this is how badly the Twilight era affected me. Of all of the like taboo things that people can't get into horror movies for, if a dog dies, if there's an essay scene or anything like that, mine that always like really gets my emotions going and will ruin a movie for me is if a really young child or if a baby dies. Yeah. Or gets hurt, or it just takes me out of the movie and it makes me sick. This movie opens up with a kid looking through a flashlight, looking up in the rafters, and a vampire is feeding on a newborn sibling, and then just drops it from the rafters. And I was so sick of Twilight, I was like, "Yeah, do it!" So, that's Steak Man for me. Brian, you had it highest.
Yeah, I just like the style of it. I like that it's gritty. I like that it's hard. Like I said before, I just think vampires should be fierce, animalistic, tear you apart, and nothing else. It's like as soon as they start wearing collars and speaking in ye old English, it just does my head in. I just think, yeah. I want to see vampires tear things up, and in this film they do. I like the two lead characters. I also like that no matter who you get attached to, no one's safe. There's characters that come and go in it, where you get attached to them, and they're like, and then they get killed. And you're like, oh man, I really thought they were a main character. I thought they were going to be sticking around. So yeah, and I did like the sequel as well. I stayed away from the sequel for quite a while because this one got quite a few good reviews when it came out. It was critically well received. The second one not so much, so I thought they probably dropped the ball on that one. But
I was nervous about it too because it got no promotion whatsoever. You almost had to hunt it down to find it, and I was like, they fucked it up. And I watched it and I was like, what the hell, this is good.
It is. It just felt like a really great companion piece. It just felt like the next chapter in that story. Like you could stick both those movies together, edit them together to make one long movie, and it would work for me. And I think that's a lot of that's down to the episodic nature of both of them, to be honest, because they were based on a series that was planned as like internet kind of shorts. So that's why if you look at the first film, it's like you'll get a situation and then it kind of resolves itself, and then there's another situation and then it resolves itself, because it's really just like webisodes that they've thought, actually we've got enough webisodes here, let's turn it into a movie, and then that's what they did, they shot it as a movie. So but I think it kind of helps it because it's a road movie where they're living in a land that it's the apocalypse basically. Yeah, it kind of works for it because they are just roamers killing vampires. So yeah, for me, I just really enjoyed it. It's really good.
I am with you. So you guys check that one out. That's one of the more underseen ones on this list. Moving on to 21, we have one of Brian's picks, Dog Soldiers, and another big split. We've got me at 29, CP at 23, Brian at 7, and Sean at 13. Brian, I'm going to let
you were all getting the Lomax Award this year. I'm telling you that much right now. All three of you are getting the Lomax Award, and I'm pretty sure everyone in the comments is going to back me up on this. The fact that you three have Dog Soldiers so low is just, I don't even need to say anything. It speaks for itself.
I'm only a little bit behind you.
Who put it in the list too, by the way? Was it you?
Yeah, it was Brian.
It was me, yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, it was my pick.
Oh, I thought it was mine. Okay, never mind.
Don't let the pink go to your head.
Don't tee off on that argument just yet.
All right. Hey, look, this is what an asshole looks like.
Could have told you that. Yeah. No, Dog Soldiers is great for me. I do think it helps that I'm British. I do think that the dialect, the way that the characters talk. Well, it's set in Scotland, but a lot of them are kind of Southerners. So it's definitely I think the way that they talk sometimes I laugh at it because there's no other way to explain it. It's a cultural thing, I think, and I think someone as an outsider watching that would be like, one, what the hell are these guys chatting, and what's with the weird accents? So yeah.
As somebody who has mutually met somebody that I've spent time with, I understand exactly what you're talking about, and yes, I do get what you're saying there, and yes, it is pretty true. However, continue.
Well, not much more to say really. I just like the banter. I like this group of soldiers that are all like amusing to me. And there's a few visual gags in there that I think can go unnoticed if you blink. But I just like throwaway stuff like that, where actually if you're paying attention, you see like a nice visual gag and here and there. And I just think for the budget that Neil Marshall had at the time, because when this came out, this was around the period that I was wanting to get into movies myself and get into directing, and back then it still felt like a small club. Like it didn't feel like it felt like you had to know someone in the industry in order to get in the industry. So any story about a filmmaker kind of going on their own and making a film of this quality on a really low budget was always quite inspiring. So yeah, a lot of that kind of keyed me into liking it, I think, just respecting it, thinking what this guy's done with the little money he's had makes me think actually my dreams of being a filmmaker are possible. We're no longer beholden to the big studios in order to get our foot in the door and stuff. So yeah, but
yeah, the movie's a microcosm for this entire list. It's a bunch of different genres in one movie. It's low budge. It is very authentic, if I do say so. Anybody who watches as far as Scott's Army is concerned, it's pretty from my limited knowledge. It's pretty spot on. That appears a little bit in Lost. If I could just drop the television show in somewhere, but the fact that I had telegraphed the third act and what was going to happen and who was what kind of ruined it for me, and the limited budget and the limited coverage. It was a little dark, and I get it. Listen, you get what you pay for. I understand, but
that's your Justice League right there.
Yeah. Well, I don't have that.
What about the budget?
Yeah. But when we go to a house, I'm like, oh, I know what's happening, and it kind of deflated everything for me.
Yeah.
Kiram had there were a few people who said that when I made those comments previously, which is I'm American and I love Dog Soldiers. It's like, no, the difference, Kiram had, is that you're an intelligent American, therefore you love Dog Soldiers. So
anyway, I need to see your ID, sir. I don't think you're American, but anyway, I kind of had a combination of all of that. This is one of those movies. This is actually the third time I've tried to watch it. This is a movie just like The Howling, where everybody seemingly was like, "This is the shit," and especially since it's the guy that made The Descent. I was like, well, a pretty good chance it's going to be awesome. And so I tried to watch it years ago, couldn't get into it. Tried again a few years after that, couldn't get into it. This is the first time I watched the whole thing. And it's a mix of what Brian was saying, to where a lot of the dialect, I feel kind of like I'm outside of the conversations. Like it's an inside joke that I'm on the outside of, and that's never fun. And I didn't even realize it was supposed to be funny until we talked afterwards about our split, and you were like, I think it's hilarious, and I was like, I was supposed to be funny. And the budget, I think, works in its favor when they do the werewolf effects. It's really impressive. And then everywhere else, it looks really cheap. And it's just like a weird, mix there. And along with CP, I also felt a lot of the plot was predictable to where I'm just like, oh, yeah, this random chick who's just hanging out at this house. I bet she's not tied to this at all. And it just didn't do much for me. So, like, I really wish I would, because it always sucks when you have these movies that everybody loves and you got to be the one asshole who's like, I didn't get it. But it just...
three assholes.
I don't have it in my 20s. I only have it slightly lower than you. What are you talking about? So, for this movie that Brian thinks I hate,
American.
Where did you have it, Sean? Where did you?
I had it at 13. Only if it's behind where you have it, but only it's reasonably behind where you have it. So it's
double where he has it. Damn it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that the next
should be top 10.
10
should be top 10 easy. Should be in top 10.
Categorizing me with them where they have it in their 20s, where I'm just slightly out of the top 10. Like I'm not one of them. I get it, man. I get it. But the dialect confused me. I'm in Texas.
Don't put middle time zone, guy.
Yeah, we get confused easily here. I went to public school in Texas.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, yeah, I liked the genre blending, the idea of like these military war games, and then all of a sudden they're in the middle of this werewolf adventure, a little bit of conspiracy. I just dug the whole kind of vibe of it. I was like, yeah, what they're going for here, I think this is cool, and I think that somewhat like with Stakeland, it's just pretty incredible what they were able to do with a very limited budget. That it works, and it doesn't feel like too much is compromised because of that. So, I had a good time with it. As I'm thinking about it, I probably would have put it at number 9 on my list, or maybe number 7, if I could redo my list now. Some things would have had to push back, because as of recently, I'm just feeling like maybe Twilight should have been higher up on my list, but Twilight and this one I would change higher.
Yeah,
right.
the hype kind of. I didn't open with that. The hype. There's a couple of these movies where the hype was just too much. Where it was like, all right, let's see what everybody's talking about, and it's like.
I believe I even asked on Twitter where you get the best information. I was like, am I the only person that doesn't get?
Don't you mean
the hype with dog soldiers? And the responses basically told me that this is either a love or hate kind of movie. There was nobody in the middle. It was like, it's one of the greatest. What are you talking about? Or I totally don't get it. I don't know what the hell everybody's talking about. So I don't know. If there's any middle ones out there, let me know. Moving on to number 20. We've got Brotherhood of the Wolf. I had it at 27.
You
Pretty
traitors.
big split.
You traitors.
CP
You're
at 15. Brian at 19, and Sean over here trying to look cultured at 7.
I like cinema, French cinema, and you Philistines just want your Hollywood dreck.
Sean, this was your pick, and we gave you an extra vote because there was so much confusion of whether this even fit the list or not. So I'm going to let you lead the argument on Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Yeah, it has Mark Dacascos in it. All right, whoever's next.
Brilliant on Iron Chef.
Well, that's your problem. You know him from Iron Chef. I know him from Oland with Strong, the best capoeira film that Hollywood has ever produced.
He's equally brilliant in Double Dragon, by the way.
Yeah, another classic film. Robert Patrick is in it, and Alyssa Milano. But so, yeah, Only the Strong, it's like Stand and Deliver if it was a martial arts film, which I think all of us watched Stand and Deliver and thought this would be better if Edward James Olmos was kicking kids in the face, and that's what Only the Strong is. So that's what I bring into this French film that we all watched for this list about not really werewolves. But yeah, it's a movie. I saw it when it first came out. It's one of those movies that when I was first discovering non-Hollywood films, and then someone's like, yeah, Mark Dacascos, it's like a horror movie. It's also like this snooty European film, but it's also kind of horror. And it's like, it's all this stuff like combining together and like, whoa, all this stuff. And so I've always had very fond memories of this one. And then Yeah, it was fun to get to watch it again. And martial arts, horror, and snootiness. I think that's what the 3 words people use to describe me.
Yeah,
There you go.
I think people need to watch more just foreign cinema. It's just a different language. It's
I
not that
did my
snooty.
part in this list. I did that
too.
to
I did too.
culture each of you.
I brought some Korean cinema to us.
Yeah.
I brought some Swedish cinema.
Here's some
to it.
sex for the list. CP
Yeah.
contributions. Yeah. We'll get there.
Yeah, I brought like the early take was, well, Brian, why don't you start, because I'll piggyback what because you thought it shouldn't be on the list.
Yeah, so I saw this film way back when it first came out on DVD. I remember it getting really great reviews in both Empire and Total Film, which were like the magazines I just read like really just
For us
back,
Brits.
back in the day. Yeah. And like I watched it and I was just like, okay. And that's just always stuck with me, is that feeling that I just didn't really like it all that much, and I thought the ending was a bit of a cop out, and it wasn't really a werewolf, spoiler. It's just, yeah, all right, that was that. Wasn't quite as good as I thought it was going to be. So then Sean mentioned it, and he seemed to be really big on it and stuff. I was like, oh, all right, fine, whatever. I'll watch it again. And I watched it again. I was like, actually, this is a really good film. It's like there's a love story bit in it that just shouldn't be there, because it's just like, and that's not just me being a guy. It just doesn't work. But everything else in it really does work, surprisingly well. Yeah, I liked it. It's still arguable as to whether it's a werewolf movie. It certainly plays like a werewolf movie right up until the end. So
Yeah, like 95% of it,
Yeah.
you're like, oh,
yeah.
oh, werewolf, okay.
But it's
The
just
Brotherhood of the Lion.
yeah. It's just there was another film called Wolfen, which I was like, oh, I'll have to. And then I watched that, and it's not it's set up like a werewolf film, but it's literally wolves. It's literally a pack of wolves in the city, and you're just like, that's a bit crap.
Brian
So
standards are so fucked.
if I come to a werewolf movie, I want to see a damn werewolf, not just some.
Do you think the
on
sound
screen.
of freedom is literally children being saved? Is that what the sound of freedom is to you?
Another win to back home.
Yes, that's what I expected from the sound of freedom.
Yeah. So I had never seen this movie before. I have known about it. I remember seeing the trailers for it. At one point, my uncle said this was his favorite movie of all time, so it stuck with me for that reason. Because this is the uncle that introduced me to Star Wars, Indiana Jones, a number of other things. And so I watched it.
Are you going to try and get all of them down before we get to the end of this?
I watched it, and look, I said this. I think I said this in my video. I know I said it to CP. I did a couple of these movies a bit of a disservice because I saved all of the foreign films for last. And so it was
Me too.
It was a bit rough at the end there, even though they were all very different. And what I remember about this movie was that the first half really tested my patience. That's where a lot of the Pride and Prejudice type shit was. And then the second half, when people are punching people in the face and getting eaten, and you got the death and revenge, and I was like, hey, it's picking up. Here we go. So the second half I dug quite a bit. The first half, though, was just a bit rough. It wasn't nearly like 3 hours long. Or like 2.5
it was
hours.
longer
It's pretty
than
long.
two.
2.5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty long.
Yeah, but
so, yeah.
Monica Bellucci though.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a great point. That's a great observation.
That's a good counterpoint. Yes,
And it's
yes.
not irreversible. So there's that.
Yeah.
Anybody who's familiar with my channel knows that anything French means struggle snuggle. So I watched this movie and I was like, oh, hey, nobody's getting essayed. I'm okay. I can watch this.
It's a change of pace.
What a weird concept for the French to do.
They're broadening their horizons. All right, number 19, we have got Fright Night 2011, the remake. This one a little tiny bit of a split, but we were close here. I had it at 13, CP at 17, Sean at 14, Brian at 23. I actually think this is one of the better remakes out there. Some people say that's not a very high bar, and perhaps. But for somebody that loves the original Fright Night, I am the first person who should get really pissy about certain things with a remake. And I actually think this is one of the remakes that does a good job at modernizing what was good about the original. I liked how they changed certain things to where Charlie's kind of the popular kid here, and Evil Ed is more of a victim in the movie. Fill us in, Brian. What's happening?
I'm just Sean. Like Sean and his cans.
I know Brian's going to counterpoint this one. I really like David Tennant's take on the character. I think that he's a lot of fun and doing kind of the Chris Angel version. I think Colin Farrell is an awesome pick to do that type of vampire character, kind of the cool guy in the neighborhood that the mom doesn't really want to believe there's anything but the sexy guy next door going on. And I think it does a good enough job at not losing the heart of the original movie, like what made it really good. So I really am entertained by this one. The only negative I ever have with it is that I don't feel like they give McLovin enough time to do his thing. Like, he's nowhere near as memorable as the original Evil Ed because he's got like this much screen time. Beyond that, I have a great time with it.
Yeah. Anton Yelchin is, with all due respect to the original, quite charismatic, and it was modernized. It's certainly not a cover band. Colin Farrell certainly is more subdued as opposed to Mr. Child's Play. Oh fuck! Why do I forget the name?
Chris Sarandon.
Chris Sarandon, yeah, who is a bit more like arrogant. And
Cody and I's personal friend, Chris Sarandon.
That you have taken photos with. Well, names just right out of my head. But yeah, it just felt different but similar for some reason, and I love the original, and it still felt like it was different somehow, and I enjoyed it. It was perfectly fine to me.
Well, I think it made the wise choice of, like, you really feel the danger in this one. Colin Farrell feels like a threat where he's enjoying what he's doing, and you just, like, much more so of this urgent danger in front of you with what he's doing, and he's toying around, even, like, the part where the girl runs outside, and you're like, oh, this guy's not screwing around. He is, but in the way that like, he's having fun with it. That's his version of screwing around. It's like, yeah, I just kind of kill people from time to time. And I think you just felt that danger more so.
Yeah.
In this one, it was a much more urgent, in your face. And then like Colin Farrell is so good at being a charismatic psycho that so that, I mean, that was the big stuff that just stood out to me, is that it put the danger back into it. And that was kind of its take that added something to the mix. And as someone that has, these were all first time watches for me. So some of that's even, it worked for me probably on some level simply because it's more modern and I'm more acclimated to this type of film currently.
One of the goofy things that I always remember and laugh about when I watch this movie. So I was living at home at the time that this came out. So I was 21. I had dropped out of college. And literally the weekend that this came out, my dad was like getting into my ass about not bringing in the trash cans. Like whenever they... Yeah, like he's just like, if you fucking pull in the driveway and they're out there and they're empty, why can't you just bring them to the front? And I'm just like, I don't know. It was just one of those conversations with like, I'm at that age where I just don't want to hear it anymore. But unfortunately, I had to live at home, so I had to hear it. And I swear to God, he has that conversation. And then a day later, me, him, and my stepmom, a couple other my siblings probably, we go to see Fright Night. And there's a scene in the movie where he pulls in with this truck into this driveway, and he takes 3 steps to the door, looks back, and then goes and gets the cans. And my dad does this in the theater. I saw him in my peripherals, and I was just like, don't look at me. Every
Movies
time
are fake, Dad.
Every time I see that scene, I just laugh. Go ahead, Brian, though.
Speaking of cans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a fair remake. It's good. It's one I'd watch again. Colin Farrell is one of my favourite actors, so for me, David Tennant, not so much. He doesn't have the gravitas that Roddy McDowall does, I don't think. And I find that he is very much a theatre actor. So he's great in theatre, but whenever I've seen him on screen, I just find he overdoes it. His mannerisms are just too large. He always goes to 11.
Roddy McDowall wasn't overdoing it?
Yes,
That's
but Roddy
pretty...
Roddy McDowall was playing a very specific type of that character, which is, if you look at those like old like Tales from the Crypt kind of style
horror
shows,
host. Yeah.
it suited, it worked. Whereas David Tennant is playing this kind of like British rock star type guy, and it just. But like I say, I find him that way in everything. That
They're definitely different.
Yeah. So for me, I preferred the class of Roddy McDowall over.
I think it needs to be said that Anton Yelchin is just somebody we desperately see too little of. Just not
Especially
speaking
now.
of this movie. Yeah, just
Gone too soon.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Thank you, Cody.
On that note, everybody watch Rudderless.
And
Moving
Green
on.
Room. Oh man.
Yeah, Green Room.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 18, we have What We Do in the Shadows.
P.
And we have me at 22, Brian agrees, CP at 13, and Sean at 10. This was another first-time watch for me. I didn't quite know what to expect. Like, I knew it was going to be a comedy. I wasn't sure. I didn't know that it was a mockumentary. And I'm also in that stage where when I see Taika Waititi attached to it, I'm kind of like a little reserved because I'm just like, your humor worked for me for a bit. Now you just kind of seem like an asshole.
Yeah.
So I wasn't quite sure what to expect. And I watched it, and I had a decent enough time with it. You know, I'm not really big into parody comedy. I'm a very hard audience when it comes to that stuff. But there was moments in this that genuinely got a chuckle out of me. I can't say that it was like fully satisfying by the end of it. Like when it decided to end, it was just like, that's it, guys. But it just kind of ran out of jokes, I guess. So it was okay for horror comedy, which is tough for me. I had a couple laughs. That's a praise.
I'm trying to think if we have any other like mockumentary or documentary style movies in this list, because
No.
it felt like the Spinal Tap for this 31.
Yeah.
And
Was Anton Yelchin in Thoroughbreds?
yes, that was
Yeah,
his
that's
last major release. Yes.
That's
yes.
a good one. Check that out.
I'm
if you want
telling
to
you,
see
man,
it.
he's this generation's John Cazale. Too few films, too soon gone.
So for me, I think even kind of what you guys just said is why I probably have it higher on my list. It is kind of it just fits in a different category of in the middle of. It was later in my watches, and like Cody, I saved all of these foreign films that I had to read for the last of the list, and then in the middle of it, and a lot of them are heavy and you know thirst. You're just thirst and let the right one in. You're like. Oh, and then Taika Waititi, like, hey, doing his shtick. And
Nosferatu looking.
Right. And so out of the blue, there's just something lighthearted. And so it's just kind of the counter programming that was like, oh, that was nice. That was refreshing in the middle of this list for me.
Man, palate cleanser.
And it's a type of movie that we don't get a lot of these days. And back when I was getting into movies, I mean, I was huge into This Is Spinal Tap, and then Christopher Guest had his whole run of continuing that idea with A Mighty Wind and Best of Show, and I had a lot of fun with those. And so this just kind of was like, oh yeah, like a little bit of a different New Zealand flavor to it, and vampires, and so that's what it was for me.
Listen to that sustain. It's not, you're not playing anything. Yeah, but imagine if I was.
I've been showing my kids the clips from This Is Spinal Tap recently. They're like, so they've started to have the little quotes themselves, like Dad, turn it up to 11.
It's that one higher.
It's awesome. If any of you watching enjoy What We Do in the Shadows and you haven't seen Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, that's kind of like the slasher version of this. So check that one out too. Anything to add, Brian?
Just, yeah, it's a very particular brand of humour, and I think you have to be in the right mood for it. And
Very true.
I think I would enjoy a film like this a lot more if I was watching it with people.
Yeah.
I think when you watch something like this on your own, it's like,
Yeah.
and every now and again you get a laugh, and that's surprising when you're on your own. If it's like that means it was a genuine funny moment. If you can watch something like that on your own and you laugh, so I think I did laugh about 5 times throughout, and it was like a genuine laugh. But I think if I watched it with people, I probably would have laughed a lot more. So, but it's not my bag. It's not the kind of film I gravitate towards, to be honest.
I hear you. All right, we'll catch up on the super chats. We got 2. Did you watch the Teen Wolf TV series? I've never seen a single episode of it. I know it's extremely different. And we have slasher franchises: Scream, TCM, Hellraiser, No Did Last Summer, Collector Collection, all up to 31. Just saying.
Guys,
And we've already done
did like half of
Most of them.
all of those but Hellraiser and Know What You Did Last Summer. So yeah, we're getting to
I
that
haven't-
point now where yeah
Sean,
you're right.
shut your
You're
mouth.
right.
Shut up. Shut up.
I haven't seen the collector or the collection yet. And I am well aware of Cody's thoughts on them.
Another
so
one's
it's-
coming. So
It's been on my was supposedly coming, and they started,
yeah,
and then
well.
COVID screwed it up. I was excited for that reason; it would give me the reason to like the moment, the urgency to watch it. But it just hasn't happened yet.
They are
so-
good. They're good.
Yeah, I want to watch them. Cody's made it very clear that this is something I'll probably be very into. It's just tough when there's always so many things to watch.
yeah, I don't know
absolutely.
how often we say this when it comes to these 31s, and people are like, "How do you have this place?" And it's like, you have already seen it. I don't know if anybody understands, squeezing 31 movies over the course of whatever time frame we have, and having to watch those movies. Like it's like literally work for us.
Yeah.
And
Especially this next one.
Hey, I have some suggestions here recently that were bringing up TV series. So be grateful, Brian, because all of them are like, it was like, you guys should do The Sopranos and Dexter and Breaking Bad and this. And I was like, Brian hasn't seen any of those to my knowledge. And that's like 400 hours of work.
Yeah. Yeah, but you don't realize that you get into this, like it's kind of monotonous, like work at times, and like Sean said, you get these palate cleansers, and it's like, I put this way higher because like it just broke.
There's a sense like you're eating the same meal over and over again because they're theyematically the same. They're in the same genre, same franchises.
Especially with slashers. Blimey.
That's how I was when we did
literally
fantasy
wash,
movies.
Rinse, repeat.
This was the hardest list for me that we've done. Some of the other ones where it had
It's
a lot of
pretty
first time
diverse.
watchers, and even with it, like it was more diverse. But for whatever reason, wasn't as into them. But like the one a few years back on like Unholy Terrors or whatever, that was a lot of first time watches for me. But it was a lot of things that I got into them more. Even the weird ones that weren't good, like I got into it more. And this one was maybe because it was so standalone movies and stuff. I couldn't get traction on it the way that I could with some of the other ones. This was hard for me to watch all these movies, and that's even why my list is so wacky.
All I'm going to say is if I've died by October 31st this year, I blame Cody, and I want a hit putting out on him for it.
I just
So-
want it to be known publicly that Mr. Lomax knew what movies he had to watch a year in advance. It's his fault that he waited until fucking August to start. But yeah, I'll take the blame on that one. Just put my face on the headstone. Before we move on,
I've been working hard. I haven't watched 4 of the movies for this one in the last couple of days. I watched 2 of them today. So
Yeah, me.
that's
and the
why I
missus-
look exhausted. It's not the time of day. It's because I was watching movies for this next 31 on 31.
Just
Sucks
think
the
of-
life out of me.
Think of anyone who knows these 31 on 31s and knows me knows my.
Nope. Nobody knows yet, right? We haven't let that out, have we?
no, not yet.
No.
Uh-oh, Brian froze.
Just imagine my worst kind of possible go-tos with these 31s, but then imagine 31 of those movies.
Dude, we're all in the same boat, man. I mean, it's like we've hit a year where it's like, all right, we have to. Here's what's left.
Gotta take the bullet while it's coming. Oh man!
We're
All right,
at the bottom of the cup here.
there we go. Before we move on to 17, CP, can you see if the live chat has froze for you?
It is frozen.
On...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If you guys send super chats and I don't see them right away, I apologize, but the chat is frozen on the StreamYard side, which usually is where I'm able to.
Here is the last thing I see.
Same. I was wondering. I was like, damn, nobody's commented in 30 minutes. We must suck. All right, number 17. John Carpenter's Vampires. This was one of my picks, and me and Sean living life correct with 7 and 5.
What on earth is this?
I'm telling you.
Hey, Cody, are you seeing this?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is going on here?
CP shockingly even lower than Brian. I knew Brian wasn't so hot on this one, but yeah, we got a split on this one. Yeah. People I hear often that In the Mouth of Madness was the last great John Carpenter film, and I always respectfully disagree and say that it was vampires. This movie it works for me. I saw it. I picked it up blindly on at Blockbuster or something. I watched it one time when my mom was having like a party in her apartment, and I just sat over in the corner and watched that and The Faculty, I believe. And it was funny because I was young enough that I didn't know what the word gory meant. And so I brought it home to my dad, and he's like, "Oh, John Carpenter, is it gory?" And I was like, "No, not really." And I didn't know what it meant. And he watches the movie and he paused it and came into my room. He's like, "You said this shit wasn't gory. That dude just split in half." So I always remember that. Yep. This movie's got a lot of style to it. It's kind of like a vampire western. It's definitely on the lower budget of things, but John Carpenter movies always tend to be kind of more lower budget. And so I don't think that's really much to hold against it. I love the cast here. James Woods' character here, along with Seth Gecko in From Dusk Till Dawn, to me are the two coolest, and Blade are the three coolest characters in this entire list. And I even like the main vampire played by Cobra Kai himself. So you have Silver in here, Terry Silver. It's gory. It's got some pretty decent action in it. I like some of the different ways that they attack vampires, where they try to drag them out into the sunlight, and it's simple, but it's executed really well. And to me, that's usually what you would say to the best John Carpenter films. So,
yes. The last great John Carpenter thing.
They Live.
Or Cigarette Burns for Masters of Horror. It's a 1 hour short with Daryl Dixon in it. Brilliant little entry into that limited series on Showtime. I've said, go to my video for my explanation. James Woods as a badass, nope, took me right out, just immediately. Nope, he is who he is in Casino to me. That's who he is, the fucking shyster. Like, that's who I think of as James Woods, not the leather jacket wearing badass vampire killer. I'd rather watch Near Dark or From Dusk Till Dawn, because that's what this movie is. Those two in a blender with John Carpenter behind the camera. Well, but no, hard no.
Yeah.
So I saw this.
I was just saying everything Pink Boy just said.
Yeah, so I saw this one in the theater when it first came out. It was one of those early movies where I could get into an R-rated movie on my own, so I saw it right when it first came out. This movie is my point of reference for James Woods here. This is the James Wood movie that I've seen the most. So I'm just used to him in the leather jacket. I'm confused when he's not in the leather jacket with the jeans. I'm like this is just kind of my style of vampire movie. It's an action movie with vampire lore. Like I don't want to oversell it and say, "Oh, I love this movie," because it's not like this exaggerated film. This isn't a list of movies where I go crazy for too many of them. Besides my the ones at the top of this list above this film, but I think to myself, if I were gonna make a vampire movie, it would be like this. This is I think, what would I make? This is what I would make. Not specifically the way John Carpenter would do it, but the band of guys hunting down vampires, organizations and stuff. I just like this kind of stuff.
With Mitt Romney in fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger get up, he's just so No.
He
No,
works for
he's-
me. I think he
The
pulls it
nerdy
off.
neighbor dressed as the Terminator. Just no.
I think he pulls
No.
it off. I think he's
The
a
guy
badass.
broke his wrists leaning on a poker table, for Pete's sake. He's not a badass.
Okay. What the fuck does that have to do with the movie?
The priest guy that partners up with him in this,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize this until watching the special features, but he's also one of the victims in Blade. I had no clue. He's one of these guys that if you put glasses on him, he looks like a totally different guy, and they were made right around the exact same time. But
Yeah, he's the doctor, right? The doctor gets thrown in a little pit.
he had no clue, and he's in like a bunch of. He's in Iron Man 2. He's in all this stuff. I was like, I had no clue because he just looks different when he puts glasses on or whatever. He changes clothes. He's just one of those guys. But of movies on this list, this one, Blade, From Dusk Till Dawn, by far the ones that I've watched the most time, and Twilight.
I'll wait till we get to it. Never mind. Go ahead.
We need a Chiron where it just pops up when Sean drops his little special features nuggets in. Sean's special features.
I don't have as many of those on this list, but I bought the Shout Factory vampires, and so I watched the special features on this one and heard James Wood talk about why he took this. Was like, I was confused when I got the call. Like, they don't normally cast me for things like this, and I was this movie's my my main point of reference for him.
He meant movies, is what he meant.
But he seems to agree with you that he was confused as to why he was in this film too, but he had fun making it.
Moving on to number 16. You want to talk about a split? Here we go.
Whoa, boy.
Underworld. We got Brian at 30. We got me at 14. CP at 9. Sean Chandler at 11. I was surprised on this one, to be honest with you. Like, I would never expect Underworld to be like in a top movie for Brian, but I was shocked to find out that it was 30, given some of the movies that we had. So I'm going to let you open the floor here, Brian.
So, I went to see this opening night, or whenever it was, when it came out, with a friend, and we both came out of it determined to write a horror script, because anything that we wrote had to have been better than this piece of crap. The dialogue in this is some of the worst. Like literally every piece of dialogue in this film is exposition, like the whole way through. I just feel like it's constantly just telling us
About the
shootout in the
cool
subway scene?
mythology.
It's really horrible. It's like it's billed as this action film, and you get literally about 3 action sequences in it, and the rest is just talky, and it's just like it's not good. I actually enjoy the sequels. I think like the sequel that comes directly after this, they just really up the action on it, and I was like, all right, I can do that. It's still crap, but at least there's loads of pretty decent action. Len Wiseman knows how to shoot an action sequence.
Brian's favorite is the third one, where like he just said,
Here's the third one.
where we've been exposed to all that stuff that we see in the third one. It's like, yeah, we know.
Yeah, but
we watched the first 2.
Yes, but the difference is in the third
Show,
one,
I know,
we're
I
not
know,
being
I know.
told it.
Yeah.
So it's like we're being shown, not literally like that should have been the first film. We're shown all this stuff. And then but the actual first film just tells it us, this happened, and all these crappy voiceovers and people like to.
That subway seems awesome.
It's one of the reasons I hate a lot of modern vampire movies is this constant need to have these monologues in which they explain their vampire culture and they have this hierarchy, and I'm just like, I don't give a crap. Just kill someone. Just be a vampire.
Kate Beckinsale in the Catwoman outfit, and Bill Nighy. I mean, like, what the fuck else do you need, dude?
That's a good point.
It's entertaining. It's entertaining for me to hear Brian be like, "Just shut up and kill someone," and then he's like, he's the one who hates the Friday the 13th films and stuff like that.
Make up your mind, Brian. Do you want no exposition, or do you want all exposition?
We got a super chat that says the return of Sean special features Chandler. Just want to acknowledge it before it disappears. Underworld is a movie that I watched on DVD. I didn't see it in theaters, and me and my dad watched it, and we were like, this is actually pretty cool. Like all the lore and everything they put in there about the vampire elders that swap out, and how the backstory that we see happen in the third one. And look, it's, you know what you're getting when you watch an Underworld film. It's came out and it was just as popular around the same time as the Resident Evil movies. They're quite often like cousins of each other in certain ways, but I genuinely think the first two movies are pretty kick-ass. I enjoy the third one. I just wish they had a few lights. And this one, I get what Brian's saying, but I kind of enjoy all the lore and the mythology mixed with all the hyper-stylized 2000s action and Kate Beckinsale and skin-tight leather. I mean, you're getting at least 3 stars out of me.
That's a good point too.
Yeah. The only thing I've ever thought was a big letdown in this first movie is they spend the whole movie talking up how much of a badass Michael is going to be if he gets both DNA, and then he gets his ass whooped by Bill Nye in 2 seconds, and it's just like, doesn't seem that powerful to me.
Was it the first one where the blood goes, where they wake Bill Nye? He's woken up too early.
Yeah, that's the first one.
Yeah, that was, I thought that was really neat, seeing like something, vampires need to rest for a little bit.
Yeah.
You took him out of the oven too soon.
Yeah, this to me is kind of like, I don't know, I guess one of my call them Taco Bell movies, but it's like fast food version of vampire lore, fast food version of The Matrix, fast food version of vampires and werewolves. Like it's very digestible. Maybe it takes itself a little bit too seriously, but it's all done in a way that's just like flashy enough. It's not the best at anything, but it's entertaining enough as cinematic junk food for the genre.
Yeah.
Agreed.
The special features too. Excuse me, the special effects. I don't have.
Excuse me. I talk about the special features.
Come on now. I have nothing for that. But when I found, this is completely irrelevant, but when I found out Len Wiseman was directing the 4th Die Hard, and to see what he added to the Die Hard franchise, I was like, yeah, all right. But
I think he's underappreciated. People shit on that guy, but I like every single one of his movies.
I agree.
Although I'm glad that his idea for a 6th Die Hard didn't come to fruition. Yeah. Nonetheless, number 15, we have Silver Bullet. Another big split here. We got Uncle Sean at 28, breaking my heart. Me at 8, CP at 11, and Brian Lomax at 17. This was what I said when I watched Sean's video and I got to 28. I was like, "Oh, this is gonna get interesting.
It's gonna be a long night."
we knew just based off of our mild discussion while we were watching these movies that this was gonna be a wild one. And yeah, this is the 31 that we are all just opposite corners on a lot of stuff. Silver Bullet, there's easy shots that you can take at it. What the hell is that werewolf? It looks like a cheap bear. It's very low budget. It looks like it's made for TV. Absolutely. But to me, this is possibly my favorite werewolf movie. It's often in the conversation because I love the story here with the brother and sister with Corey Haim. And I really like kind of putting us in Corey Haim's shoes where he's the one being tormented by the werewolf. I think there's a really interesting thing that I wish they explored it a little bit more because he only mentions it once and doesn't completely fit to it. But the guy that is revealed to be the werewolf, he kind of hints that he kills people to save their soul eternally. Like he kills a woman that's going to have an abortion to save her soul. But they only do that once. Like that could have been a really cool motivation to explore. And the rest of it just seems like he's actually just evil. You get Gary Busey here, full Busey. Like I think most of his dialogue in this movie was ad-libbed, and you could tell. And Yeah, it's a good time, man. I don't know. This is one that I would not argue with somebody if they said it's dated as hell, because it is, but I always have loved this one.
Another Lost reference. Shout out to John Locke, the sheriff.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Hi, Darcy. That was another super chat.
Once again, if I watched this at your house and you're like able to like give me the commentary of what I'm supposed to be picking up on, perhaps it would have played differently. This was a first time watch. I had no idea where anyone thought about it, and all of a sudden there's a kid in like a wheelchair that can go 30 miles per hour, and it's called the Silver Bullet. I was like, oh, that's one of the things in this movie. The Silver Bullet is the wheelchair, and it's how you kill the werewolves. Like, what are we doing here? And so it was one of those movies that you when you watch it detached from any sort of earlier context or growing up with it as a standalone thing, all of the goofy parts, the dated parts just really stand out. I did appreciate that the main villain guy is also the main henchman from Under Siege 2, an underrated 90s classic. So seeing him in something else, I really dug that. But it was just, to me, I only saw the 80s cheese.
Yeah, I like the fact that it was like a small town, a community that would go to church, and it turns out that the villain, the wolf, is the pastor, the priest that they're putting all this faith in. And I was dying to hear what Brian would have thought of this, so I guess I'll shut up. Interesting.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
I was genuinely shocked that you had this one high. Like whenever I put this in the list, I remember you texted all of it. You were like, "This better be good." And I was like, "Typical Brian answer." And then you watched it, and I was like, "He's gonna hate this. There's no fucking way." And I was shocked to find out that you liked it.
This to me feels like the kind of film that things like Stranger Things is trying to ape. And I don't know, when I watched it, I got the vibe from it, and the ambience from it that I feel like I would have got back in the 80s if I was a kid watching it. Which I feel is, like I say, I feel like that's the vibe that something like Stranger Things is trying to get out of people. And a lot of stuff these days is trying to get out of people, like Fear Street and things like that. Whereas this, I kind of got it, but it was genuine because this is actually from the 80s. This is, it's not trying to be 80s. It is 80s, but it just, I liked it. It just, that relationship between the uncle and the boy, I really like. It doesn't try to be anything too grandiose. It knows it's a bit cheeky. It knows it's a bit kind of naff because it's not got much budget, but it plays to what strengths it does have, which is these characters just kind of coming together to stop this werewolf. But I liked it, and I did like the angle of having the wolf in sheep's clothing with the priest being the I did see that coming though a mile off, I gotta say.
Oh yeah.
I think the Gary Busey, the shitty uncle that the sister knows is a loser, but the kid looks up to him. I think that's very genuine because kids don't know like what adults do that they don't see, but he's a hero to this kid because he constantly only shows up for cool parts. As somebody who grew up,
and he's also somebody that doesn't make him feel like a cripple.
Yeah,
he always he's more than just a wheelchair.
Yeah. As somebody who grew up in a single parent household, I could relate a lot to that situation where somebody just shows up and is the cool guy, even though everybody else is like. Gary Busey. I don't think you could put anybody else in that role and have it be that convincing, because Gary Busey is that guy. That's Gary Busey. You can't tell me otherwise.
And he was in the first Under Siege,
as well as
Mr. Joshua.
2. Utah, give me 2.
All right, coming in at number 14 is one of CP's picks, and we have Thirst. A little bit of a split on this one, too. Like, remember what I said earlier about the two guys that get into the art stuff and, and the two simpletons that like explosions?
Yeah.
We got me at 23, Sean at 20, CP at 8, Brian at 9. I've never heard of this movie before, and I think this was either the last one that I watched or the one right before the last one. And all I remember is I asked CP, I was like, what am I walking into here? And basically all he said, he's like, oh, there's Asian tits in it. I was like, all right, I'll check in with you when I'm done. It's weird. It's really weird. It's well made. It's well made. It's interesting. It's unique. It takes a little bit of a spin on vampire lore and does something really wild with it. But yeah, this was one that I watched it upstairs in my bedroom, and like clockwork, when I watch one of these movies, especially if I don't know it's coming, every time my wife walks in the door, I'm like, this is CP's pick. I swear to God, it's a movie for the thing. 31 on 31. It's a vampire movie. Like, there's blood in 5 minutes. I swear to God, if you wait, they're still fucking. Oh my God. And it's like,
like your parents walking in.
Yeah.
It's a commercial, I swear.
Yeah, exactly.
I was watching it in the middle of the day, having the same like, what's my wife gonna think she watches? But then what's he watching?
Yeah. So it was interesting. It was for sure interesting, and it's just not a movie I would ever rewatch.
I like the interesting take on a vampire. Like this. You know, a lot of movies do vampires as, you know, without blood, as, you know, a bit of a what's the trope I'm looking for?
What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, when he gets like the sickness, when he runs low on blood, it's just an interesting take on the addict trope. That is.
It's always when CP's talking that one of these moments happen. It's like the fucking lemon. Oh my God.
Someone ripped.
You don't have to name names. It's okay, but it was pretty fucking funny. Yes, on addiction, I'm with you. I'm listening. But just, that was a bad moment to talk serious.
Oh, sorry, CP. Go.
Yes.
Addiction. Yes.
Brilliant director. Yeah, it plays into the addiction trope pretty interestingly.
Yeah.
As Brian is clearly taking seriously. The fact that we have another man of the cloth that is doing some pretty unfavorable things, and then the person that he turns, and that she's like this fucking wild dog that he can't keep controlled. I can't. So somebody take this away from me, please.
So this for me was, I think, kind of in the same situation exactly what we talked about earlier with Cody. Saved a few too many of these foreign films for the end of the list. If I watched this independent 5 years ago, it's like, oh, it's a good spin on the vampire lore, and you just are with like full patience and like just watching it, not as an assignment in that context, I think it would play one way. But when you're watching 31 vampire and werewolf, man, you thought that was really, really funny. 31 vampire werewolf movies, and this might have been the last one I watched, or number 30. I mean, this was in the last three, and so my patience was a little bit thin. And so it was just kind of watching in that context of like, it's tough for me to get into it at this moment in time while I'm reading the movie, while I'm also a little bit afraid my wife's going to walk in and think that I'm having a bit of a moment with myself. So a few things like that. There's I watch it. This is well made. it's interesting. It's exploring ideas that I really get. I just don't know. Watch this again.
So I look up and see Cody's face. Sorry, guys.
So how long have you been awake? You reached your delirious phase?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, Sean, to what you're saying, something I've learned firsthand with foreign film, they don't lean on music the way American cinema does, and you don't realize just how much music helps us through some stuff until you watch a couple of foreign movies, and you're like, man, they're just talking.
Yeah.
Like all they're doing is talking.
Well, and they're doing some other stuff in this movie. With their clothes off. So it's...
A lot of it. A lot of it. Oh Lord.
It's like I'll just not look at Cody because it's
just me.
So I like the fact that it's this guy who is a man of the cloth, and he actually starts out in the film trying to do the good thing, trying to do something that will save lives, and as a result kind of ends up with this disease that then makes him someone who's going to be taking lives. And it's just like, and then he's got to wrestle with this, like what to do with that when I'm literally, I've become sin, like whether I want it or not, kind of thing. And it's just like, yeah, it's a very...
When he goes back to the village and confesses, and they all turn on him, like that was pretty.
Yeah,
he's like, yeah, I deserve that probably.
Yeah.
That was pretty gut-wrenching.
But him having to take responsibility as well for this woman that he's turned, and like, kind of when she realizes at the end, like, I mean, I don't want to give away the ending for anyone who's not seen it, but like he has to make a choice at the end, and it's like it feels in some ways quite harsh, but also the right thing to do, and so it's right till the bitter end. This is a guy who's still trying to hold on to his humanity, and that's really what the story's about. It's like, can you hold on to your humanity when you're literally becoming a monster? So yeah, it's a good film and very Korean.
Interesting way to take take blood from a victim there for a little bit.
IV straw.
Yeah, it was just like
just lay on his back. Like.
How wholesome, sort of.
Wild stuff. It's a movie I'd like to revisit when I'm not chunking 31 of them together for sure.
Yeah.
Coming in at number 13, we've got 30 Days of Night. I had it at 16, CP at 21, Brian at 4, and Sean at 18. And this is another one of those movies that I don't think it came out after Twilight. It was like one of the last ones before Twilight.
I think.
Yeah, because I remember I was like 17 or 18 when this came out. And what I like about this one, and I always remember it, is how ferocious the vampires are. They're very animalistic. And of course, just the concept of a part of the earth that doesn't have sun for 30 days is like prime for a vampire story. So very cool. And I also love seeing Josh Hartnett, shout out to Oppenheimer's boy here. But we got a vampire movie with a pretty cool concept. I just feel like it kind of peters out a bit, which is why I had it a little bit low. It always feels like the first hour or so of the movie is really interesting, and then just kind of drags a little bit. And I always get frustrated too that the movie ends very similar to Blade 2, like almost identically. And this did come after Blade 2, to where it's like they have to hold each other and one of them dissipates into dust.
Yeah, but the graphic novel was done before Blade 2, though.
Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, it's not a movie I have really anything negative to say. Just why it was lower on my list. It just peters out a little bit in the last third for me.
Yeah, that's one of the notes I had written down about this one, is that it felt like the movie was like recut and edited. Like they reworked the end of the movie late into production. Like I was watching it and I went, wait, what just happened? And like had to rewind it because there's like a time jump, but there's nothing in the movie that acknowledges it. You just have to like piece together that
Oh, he's got a beard now.
Stuff has changed. And so just the handling of time and events was very jumbled. And it was frustrating because like you said, just a great concept. Like, oh, right. Vampire story in a place where there's 30 days of night. That is absolutely perfect. And so there's a bunch of things that was really cool. But I think, Cody, you said it well, is kind of just, peters out towards the end and doesn't fully stick the landing.
I always found it strange, sticking with the kind of the ending, not really delivering for me too. I always found it was kind of resolved a little too easily to where he's like, oh, I got to inject myself. I got to be a vampire. And then he just takes out the leader really easily. And the rest of them just flee, and that's it. It just kind of it wraps up very quickly for having been a story that was a month long for me. But yeah, I still dig it. But moving on.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that I don't know what it was about the 2000s and early 2010s, but if you were making a vampire movie, it had to have that blue tint. And I mean, yeah, sure, it's cold in winter and
it's more of a black tint. It's like it's just
Underworld is the blue tint.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the first ones.
Underworld, like my background is Underworld.
What are you talking about? I'm wearing a red shirt.
Does anybody hear Evanescence?
Yeah, I agree. I felt like the positive in the beginning or the middle was it was quite gory. It was pretty gruesome, and I enjoyed that a bit. I like when people are isolated and just fucked, just shit's going down. Like that's it. Yeah. Not literally fucked, but at least there was music in 30 Days at Night.
Yeah.
I love
Brian, why so good?
I just think it's the first time I think since Near Dark that I saw vampires the way I wanted vampires to be in a film. And I love the cinematography. I love David Slade's direction. I've always been a fan of Josh Hartnett since The Faculty. I think he's quite an underrated actor.
Agreed.
He's that actor who I think still has his best to show. I think he's got something in him that he's going to be one of them that when he hits the right age, suddenly he'll just be like, yeah. He's a bit like Michael Caine. Like for me, I wasn't that big on Michael Caine as a younger actor, but as soon as he hit like middle-aged Michael Caine,
as soon as he was working for Batman, I saw the light.
No, I my only criticism, and the only criticism here that I've heard that I resonate with is what Sean said about the passage of time. They should have done more to really cement the passage of time, because it's called 30 Days of Night, so you expect this countdown. Like I would have appreciated, like, day 4 and day 7, like so it's, but you don't, so you never really, it feels more like one day of night. But other than that, everything else in it for me is just spot on. It really works as an action horror thriller. Yeah, love it.
There we go. Moving on to number 12, the only new movie on the list, and that is Renfield, and made it pretty damn high. And shockingly, I had it the lowest, and I really dug this one. I guess it shows how much I love the ones above it. 18 for me, CP at 6, Brian at 15, and Sean at 12. Was that oops, like I messed up the average, or oops of I changed my mind?
No, I messed up the average probably. To call back to what Sean was talking about earlier, it was one of those things where it's like, nice, something different and fun and an interesting take, and the only movie to sort of feature the classic Universal Dracula, but with
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage.
It's very
CGI
Lugosi inspired.
I really enjoyed Renfield a lot more than I was anticipating. And when I saw the trailers, it looked like one of them movies where, all right, they're going to put all the good bits in the trailers.
I thought the same thing.
And then you're going to get there, and it's going to feel a lot of it's going to feel like padding. It's going to be like the kind of comedy that grates on my nerves, that kind of Judd Apatow light kind of stuff that has kind of ruined comedies these days. But no, it was actually a really intelligently made film that understood the legacy of the Universal films, of which it was kind of essentially a sequel to. I love the recreation of some scenes directly from those Universal ones. And yeah, Nicolas Cage hasn't been this good in years, to be honest. I loved it. Great film.
The movie refreshingly knew exactly how much to use him. That was my two fears when I saw the trailer. I was like, okay, this is either all the best parts are in the trailer, or there's just going to be way too much use of Nicolas Cage doing the Nicolas Cage thing. And I thought it was perfect as far as that mix. I like Nicholas Holt's character. I think that the movie does a good job at commenting on like toxic relationships and codependency and stuff like that without it being like all message. Like it's there, it's woven in, but you can just enjoy it as a straightforward movie if you don't want to discuss that type of thing, which to me, I appreciate commentary that does that. Then like I said, Nicolas Cage as Dracula is one of those things that I never would have had on my bingo card for life of things that I need, but after watching it, that was just awesome. Really good, sharp sense of humor, hyper violent. The only thing about it that I didn't
too, sort of.
Yeah, the only thing that I didn't care for, I'm still not sold on Awkwafina as an actress. Every movie that she is in, she's the low point for me. It's not that I dislike her personally, but this, Jumanji, anything else that I've seen her in, I'm always like, And so that's about it.
You didn't like Scuttlebutt in The Little Mermaid?
I didn't hate it as much as everybody else did, for the love of God.
So
but
that's the Awkwafina thing that you defend, but you dislike everything else that she does. That's my takeaway from what you just said.
It's charming when it comes out of the lips of a bird. No, go ahead.
Guys, just so you know, those of you who are dropping super chats, Pool Stroke, TRG, Swag, there's an issue here on StreamYard. I'm doing my best to work with the StreamYard tech, and we see them, but just bear with us because there's a problem on our side. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Do you want to drop out, like close the window, CP, and come back in and see if it fixes for you?
Okay.
Go ahead, Sean.
Guys. This is the way. Look at the flowers, Charles.
Yes, I thought Renfield was campy, ultra-violent fun. That I like, just a nice little mix of kind of cop thriller plot line with the corrupt cops merged with vampire stuff. That just, it's not trying to be high art. It's not trying to be the greatest vampire movie of all time. It's just trying to be a good time, and I thought it was.
There you go.
Oh, it worked?
And
okay, good.
Troy McClure, I have seen Pig. He was good in that, but the film didn't make a huge impression on me. I wanted more from that film, to be honest, because I heard all the hype from it, and I watched it, and I was like, yeah, it was all right, but I don't feel like the need to ever watch it again, so...
I hear you. Watch 30 Days a Night for Manu Bennett. I know him. Arrow's Deathstroke. There you go. Met him at a con. Kind complimented my Jason cosplay. He seemed like a cool dude. Badass content, guys. Thank you. And for the love of God, never tell that to my wife because she cannot stand Nicolas Cage. I'm not allowed to watch a Nicolas Cage movie in her presence. So God help me if you make her start to see Nicolas Cage and she looks at me. That'll be a very short marriage. All right. Moving on from that, we got number 11, which is Daybreakers. This was another one of my picks. Me and Sean agreed at 9. We had CP at 18, Brian at 13. this is one of those kind of forgotten movies there, where it was again in that era where there wasn't really much vampire werewolf
Blue
stuff.
tint as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of came and went. I don't remember very many people talking about it, and I watched it, and I just thought this movie was awesome. Like it was really creative with some of the vampire lore. I love the cast. I mean, Ethan Hawke is awesome in pretty much everything I've seen him in, and then you got Willem Dafoe. You've got Please Help Me on Alan Grant, Sam Neill. Sam Neill in here is the bad guy, and
Damien.
I like yes. Yeah, I'll stick with Dr. Alan Grant. But nonetheless, just from the first one though. But you have this really cool concept of, like, again, post-apocalyptic, which had been done to death at that point, but they did it different to where vampires have become the main species on Earth and humans are starting to be sparse, and it shows kind of like a consumerism play on that, where blood is a commodity and it's starting to go, and you have the rich people that can afford 100% pure blood, the poor people have to drink coffee with like 10% blood, and you have Ethan Hawke trying to basically reignite the human race. And it was just a great action movie, a really good commentary, a nice spin on the genre. There's very little negative I have to say about it. I think it's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, what I really appreciated about it was the world building. I feel like this does everything right that Underworld did wrong, which is that we get our main character played by Ethan Hawke, and the first like 10-15 minutes of the film are kind of like a day in the life of this guy. So we see him at work and operating through his day. We see the world around him. We see him in his home, how the world works, and it builds a picture of this world that these characters live in without telling it us all in dialogue. So we see through the way that the house is equipped, how it has to, the shutters come down during the day and all. We see how they live. We get a sense of this world completely by just seeing it in action, whereas with Underworld we didn't. So I appreciate that.
I just love that Brian talks about Len Wiseman like he's fucking Kevin Smith. Like the fucking guy has incredible stunts in his movies. It's just so funny how many times he's taking jabs at Underworld.
I'm taking jabs at the script for Underworld. It's got nothing to do with Len Wiseman's direction.
There's visuals. It's not like they're all just chatty at a fucking supermarket.
Yeah, but
there's things going on.
Yeah, but you're acting like there's tons of action in it. Like it's this balls to the wall action movie, and there's not. I remember the stuff on the train sequence. I remember a car flip with Michael Sheen when he's doing some stuff on a car, and then there's literally nothing until the very end where they're in the sewer. Like it's just
the climax. What a weird time for a thing to happen.
Exactly. So for an action movie, I would expect action, throughout, not just saved for the last scene. You're acting like it's balls to the wall action, and it's not.
Well, it's
just people walking in slow motion with leather jackets and rain and like expositional dialogue. It's not.
And they're partying in Transylvania, man.
In slow motion. Yeah, it's just.
What movie are we talking about?
Brian's just taking continuous jabs at Len Wiseman's classic Underworld. And
wait, didn't we talk about Underworld 2 hours ago?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was saying that Daybreakers gets right what Underworld got wrong, in that it shows you this world we live in. It does the first 20 minutes of Daybreakers, you get a complete picture of the world in which our main characters operate, and it does it all by showing it you. And then you can literally get on with the story without needing all these blanks filled in because it's already been shown to you.
So we're talking about Daybreakers.
Yeah, Daybreakers.
There we go. Okay.
There we go.
Oh yeah, Sean, you tapped out for a second there.
I did. I feel much better now.
I unfortunately saw this is one of the movies that I watched freshly for this series, and I got too many like World War Z vibes, and I don't know why I couldn't get them out of my head. But I didn't hate the movie by any stretch. It just felt like something I've seen before, and I don't know why I want to say World War Z, because it really only kind of feels like the last little bit of World War Z for a little bit. So I can't explain why I have certain thoughts.
Okay.
Can you put the card up again so I can see where we're all at on this one?
Yeah, I'm at 9, and you agree.
Oh, look at us.
Yeah.
Twinkies.
Together forever. CP at 18 and Brian at 13.
Yeah, so this was a first time watch for me. I didn't even know what I was going into. Like, I didn't know anything about this movie going into it. And I thought it was just a real pleasant surprise. Just right out of the gate, I was like, oh, that's a kind of interesting little premise that we've got here. And then it combines action, sci-fi, horror, kind of this world building. And then it's like post-apocalyptic for mankind, and it's like right about apocalyptic for the vampires. It was just a lot of stuff that I was like, that's kind of cool. That's an interesting take on like, it does feel like a bunch of other movies, but with just enough of a spin on it. It was like, I haven't seen it from that angle before. So I thought this one was like I mentioned earlier how this list to me was a lot of movies it was a little bit tougher of a list. This was one of the real pleasant surprises in the list for me to discover this film. But also, it was one of the first movies I watched, so maybe that helped a little bit too. But I really enjoyed this one as a first time watch with no expectations going in.
Super chat from Lucas Griffin, 999. Thank you. Already suggested to Cody, but We Only Come Out at Night by Motionless in White is about Lost Boys. It's my favorite band. Maybe some of you guys like metalcore. Love the stream. Cheers.
Cool. Thank you, Lucas. Moving on to number 10, we have Interview with the Vampire. Did anybody else have the Mandela effect and thought it was Interview with a Vampire?
I did.
Yeah, I think most people did. So we had me at number 12. We had CP at 16. Brian loved it at 3, and Sean at 15. This is one of those movies that I've seen a few times throughout my life, and it's always like a 10-year gap every time that I watch it, it seems. And every time I watch it, I'm like, this is really good. There's a lot of things in this that's really high quality, like production design, costume design. The period piece detail is great. The two leads, like right there in that hot streak in the early 90s. And even like the surrounding cast, getting young Kirsten Dunst that just shows up and completely steals the show for the whole middle part of the film.
Christian Slater was like the name at the time.
Yeah, the bookend character before he had some oops. Yeah, so you have it's a really good movie that I always enjoy revisiting, but for some reason it's just not a movie that I ever really think to rewatch. And when I watched it this most recent time, it feels like the movie has a really deliberate pace, and then it just ends really quickly with like a montage in the last 10 minutes where it's just like, oh, Kirsten Dunst died, and then this happened, and then now our movie's over. And I know people said that it is a TV series. I said when I was talking about, like, this should be a TV series because there's more to tell here. I haven't seen the series.
It just started recently.
Yeah, it's like season 2 or something. But yeah, if the movie had an extra 20 minutes and fleshed out that last bit of the story more, it probably would have been higher on my list.
Yeah, I love Into the Vampire. I just think the atmosphere just is perfect.
But you hate vampires who speak in like Victorian era type.
That's a good point.
Right?
I hate. This is what is it you call when you're gaslighting? So it's like, rather than letting someone actually speak because they're about to give you an answer, you talk over them, go and try and make them look like a fool.
I could laugh uncontrollably for an hour.
Or you could actually let me speak.
Go ahead.
So that I could give you my actual thoughts rather than having you put your thoughts out of my mouth. No, what I said is that I don't like dialogue that is overly expositional, which talks all about the ways of our culture and the vampires, and it's got nothing to do with period dialogue. I've never at one point have I said the period dialogue is what annoys me. So don't put words in my mouth. Thank you very much. No, I think the period detail is fantastic. The direction is really great. The performances across the board are fantastic. Kirsten Dunst just came on the screen and absolutely blew us away. She's like holding her own against some of the best names in Hollywood at the time. It's a fantastic film, and it's one that every time I go back to, I'm always reminded as to how good it really is. It should be higher from you guys, but whatever.
No, we had it pretty high. This made it pretty high. 12, 16, 15, in the middle there.
Brian has a homoerotic film and a film about a female going through puberty in the top 5. And I'm the one in pink. Remember that.
Uncle Sean.
And Blazing Asian, this is like round 15. Welcome to the show, by the way. Far from round 2.
I don't know. I don't feel like I have anything really to add about it. I remember when this movie came out, and this was peak era of movie stars, and it was Tom Cruise, huge movie star, Brad Pitt as he was the hot new name on the rise, and then as like Antonio Banderas is one of those names you were kind of looking out for a little bit.
She was pretty hot in that movie. Yeah.
And so like, and so you just kind of, it was one of those movies that just had a lot of buzz surrounding it. And so I've been aware of it and watching it for some time. And it's a film that you look back on and you forget, because Tom Cruise's reputation for the last 20 years has been the action movie guy. He does his own stunts. he runs in all of his movies.
Never ages.
Yeah, but and you forget, like, that really wasn't what his career was like for the 20 years previously. And he did all kinds of different roles. And so you watch this film and it feels like so foreign compared to what he's known for now. Even though this was just another one of his big, gigantic movie star roles that he did.
Well, you can say that for Brad Pitt too, because Brad
Yeah,
Pitt kind
true.
of is a big,
Both
big
of
star
them.
now. Yeah.
And it was just, even watching it, where like, this is before Antonio Banderas really took off, and he's just kind of in this small role. And, this is years, Kirsten Dunst is a little girl years before she's Mary Jane. And it's just fascinating to see it as this product of the mid 90s that was a big hit, that was successful. But just their reputations have gone on to be such other things that it feels kind of foreign in this context.
Christian Slater was I think he was the top listed name in the movie. Poor bastard.
Gotta love it.
Now we're going to transition to real stars.
There we go. Lucas Griffin, Interview with the Vampire is my 15th favorite movie of all time. I'm so glad it made it this high. There you go. It's a good one. Coming at number 9 is Let the Right One In. And a bit of a split on this one, too. We've got me and Sean at 19 and 21, and CP and Brian at 1 and 3.
Assholes.
The most
There was
sound
no gunshots in this movie. There was not enough explosions.
No music.
Like, there wasn't enough music. Like, I especially love all the early Zeros movies that have like drowning pool and like drop D guitars, and there was none of that in this movie. So you're lucky it even made it into my top 30. This should have been number 31.
The most sound thing that I can say is that I was introduced to this story with Let Me In, and I've watched Let Me In probably 4 or 5 times. I genuinely love that movie, and I just haven't gotten around to watching this original yet until this was a first-time watch for me. And there's a big defining difference between the two, whereas the first one is kind of just focuses on like the innocence of love, where they're kids. There's no motivations adulterating just these two people that connect. And the original here is a much darker and more fucked up premise, to where in a blink and miss it moment where it shows, the castration of the vampire, that it suddenly flips that all on its head, and it's like, oh, there's not really a connection here. Possibly it's just this is how this character chose to go to groom handlers.
It's such a key moment, like you said, it's blink and you miss it, and yet it's such a key moment because it really keys you into this character. And I've done a video essay on this one over on my other channel, and I've had a lot of flack from it, people really coming at me saying that my take on it is completely wrong because I've not read the book, and in the book it does this, and in the book it does that, and I'm like,
Emily's heard
dude,
the same thing. Yeah.
If every argument you're coming at me with is from the book, then go and read the bloody book. This is a film.
Well, they did, and you didn't. That's the problem here.
It's just the director has their own spin on it. I don't care what the writer did. I don't care even if the writer of the film had a particular adaptation of the book. At the end of the day, the director takes that script and they adapt it. They see something and think, this is what I'm going to key in on. And for me, this film is the ultimate film about a wolf in sheep's clothing. You've got this vampire that is a symbol of evil masquerading as an innocent girl. That's how she draws people in. You see it in the man that is looking after her at the beginning, and by the time we get to the end of the film, we realise that actually this new boy that she's kind of groomed, as Cody put it, is essentially going to end up the way that man does. You know, down the line, 40 years from now, is going to be outed, and she's going to have to find someone else. And the fact that she's not a she is a he, just clues you into the fact that this person, this vampire, has thought, what is the most innocent thing I can become to draw in these people? Well, it's a girl. It's a young girl. So chop my penis off, grow out my hair, make myself look like a girl, and that's how the evil brings. Like if you look, there's a scene in the film when they hug each other. She opens up for a hug. He goes in. He's really buying into the fact that they're growing close. That there's a love there, and he goes in for a cuddle. I think he kisses her, and he closes his eyes while he's doing it because he's really in it. She's not. She's just she's stood there looking at him, kind of checking his reactions, and there's no emotion for him whatsoever. This is all animalistic. This is all about drawing him in, about taking advantage and using him. That's why it's called Let the Right One In. It's not about him letting her in. It's about her letting him in. And it's just, I think it's a really great movie. There's so much going on under the surface with it. It's a real, cinema, real piece of cinema, and it's easily the best film on this list as far as I'm concerned.
Brian, I'll agree with you on a bunch, except for the best part. But I want to ask you a serious question and not get into any of our silly hijinks. If this film were released today, would you not call it woke?
No.
Because
what's woke about it?
You kept referring this castrated character as she, when indeed it is a biological male, as you.
Yeah, but what's woke about that? It's painted as evil. It's not woke. Woke is about woke
to them as she.
I don't know where this is going, but anyway.
But the thing is, my definition of woke is you take something that is traditionally not the lead, not given and you put them on the pedestal at the expense of the thing that was formerly on the pedestal. So rather than balancing it out, what you do is you fire one up and then you put the one that was originally at the top down at the bottom. That's woke. What's woke about this? This is an essay on evil, plain and simple. There's nothing woke about it. It doesn't even come into conversation.
No, I like I said, I didn't want to get into a tiff about it. I sometimes your takes confuse me when you say that, you have some of these.
I just fail to understand where the eye line is with regards to the wokeness. Like, what's woke about it? I don't get it.
Well, it's
He answered your question, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this is a movie that I really don't have any genuine gripes with. Like, if you tell me it's a really well made, and I have no issues or confusion whatsoever about why it's so high on either of your lists. I just think it's because I am used to that other version of this story that's more about the innocence of childhood bonding and something like that. And it's a much more hopeful version of this, which I understand why if you really like Let the Right One In, a lot of people don't like Let Me In, because it changes that very integral piece to it and fundamentally changes the message of the movie. I just prefer that. And maybe it's because I'm used to it. I just like the more hopeful side of it, of this kid that has this horrible life, parents that don't care about him, a dad that's gone, a mother that barely even pays any attention to him, a school that just chews him up and spits him out, and this typically evil being comes in as the one symbol of love and hope that he's ever had, and they kind of bond and go in a very different path than what the original was. I just prefer that, and that's the version of the story that I'm used to. That's really the only reason why it's this low. And even if I didn't have that, it's not necessarily a big rewatchable movie for me, even if I had never seen Let Me In. And rewatch just plays very highly into my rankings. Uncle Sean.
I'll kind of mirror what I said. Same about Thirst, except adding also what Cody just said. Saw the remake first, and so the freshness of the story was a little bit taken away. And then when I watched this one, it was in the last 3 movies I watched on this list where I was like, I've just got to get these things watched because I got to get this video out there. There was a lot of subtitled movies with no music that are slow, thoughtful films that if I watched them independently in a different context, they probably would have played and connected with me much better than, yeah, I saw this movie before with was a little bit more accessible. And I didn't have to read the movie, and I wasn't doing it in a context where I was watching 31 movies in a very short window of time. And that really can screw up your perspective on some films if they're not like right in your wavelength. So I can't in any way criticize specifics of it. It's entirely probably the way that I watched it affected its placement.
I see you guys in the chat, and I just want to make it clear that I absolutely love Brian like a brother. He's done so many things for both Emily and I personally, that what you see us rattling off and fighting and stuff, that some of it is exaggerated, and he laughs at me, I laugh at him, we have fun, and that's why I prefaced that statement with I don't want to get into a typical CP versus Brian thing. I love Brian like a brother, and us fighting, there's way more to that like you don't see the conversations we have and the stuff that we do not in front of a camera. So like Brian and Cody are 2 people that know who I am, and I love 2 of them. And Sean is here too.
Hey, wait a minute, what's going on here?
but sincerely, as much as we get at each other's throats, I'm there in the morning. I love Brian to death.
It's all show, guys. It's all for show.
Yeah, it's entertainment. Grab your popcorn.
Until we click end broadcast. Like, what the fuck is that comment about? We're live, you dick. Say it with your chest.
Yeah, anytime you watch
8.
me live with my little Jason mask, that Brian sent me that. That's me just showing Brian at all times.
I'll have to get like Bluey or something right here. Number 8. This is time for my prime Lomax moment, baby. Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Whoa!
Yeah. So I got it at 21. CP the highest at 5, and Uncle Sean and Brian were correct at 8.
Woohoo!
This is another one like Let the Right One In, where I don't necessarily have fundamental issues with it, aside from the one that is the easiest jab to take at this movie, which is Keanu Reeves is wildly miscast. It's just not really my type of movie. I can really appreciate how it has such a classic approach. I can appreciate how immaculate the production design and the costume design and everything is. The practical effects on the vampire work, where he's like demonic and all that stuff, is awesome. Great cast aside from Keanu. I think it's so classic that because I grew up on all the much more stylized versions of these stories, that I just gravitate to things like that a lot more. It's the same reason why when I watched the original Night of the Living Dead, I was like, this is like the most basic zombie story ever, and it's because it was one of the first ones. So yeah, I watched this movie probably 3 times my entire life, and it's like Interview with the Vampire, although not nearly as entertaining for me. It's just not one that I ever have the desire to rewatch.
I never realized how well endowed Winona Ryder was until I watched this movie, but I'm grateful for it. Gary Oldman is king, and people are saying it. His portrayal of Dracula and seeing all the different iterations of Dracula over the course of time, like the handsome seductress and the seducer, excuse me, and when he's just this fucking Emperor Palpatine looking thing at the end, it's Francis Ford Coppola. He tends to hit every now and again. Every now and again.
Yeah. Brian?
I just love the style of it. It's very... It all looks like it was shot in a soundstage somewhere, but in a really over-stylized, theatrical, operatic way. And that's kind of why I like it. Just the really deep reds, and it feels very much like a Hammer horror. What it is, it's like it's like Universal and Hammer combined to make this. I think it's very artistic, very well done.
Very American too, because the score is so prominent. It's a very good score.
It's a great score. And I always loved the song in it by Annie Lennox as well. But
rest in peace.
Yeah. It's a really great film.
Uncle Sean, I just got confirmed for Fantastic Fest.
Oh, what is it? I wonder if I did too. It's exciting. Oh, I sold 2 T-shirts. Oh, the wrong email. I just got confirmed as well for Fantastic Fest. I'm gonna book a house and we can hang out together.
Hell yeah!
I missed you. Woo!
Any thoughts on Dracula?
Oh yeah. So I don't think I'd ever seen it all the way through up until this watch. Like, I'd seen pieces of it, but I never watched it fully. And especially in a time where I'm starting to get really bored with so much of the way that the sameness of current Hollywood movies and too much CGI and just appreciating anything that feels practical and real. And you watch this movie and all of the practical old effects and the shadow moving behind him differently and the sound stages and like all these little details. It was just like refreshing to see this big production from a very different era. And so that's kind of what to me was just what really stood out and what I appreciated about it. And
I don't know why I thought Angela Lansbury. I heard Annie Lennox and I was like, guys, it's almost 6 a.m.
It's getting late over there. So
Motley strikes again.
Oh boy!
Someone is like, Annie Lennox, rest in peace. I'm like, oh, did I do that?
Sinead Lennox.
Oh Jesus!
I don't know what I can't. Listen, it's breakfast. It's time for breakfast.
You guys are nuts. It's definitely getting sleepy time, huh? Number 7.
Look, you can see the sunlight.
Yeah, I see. Oh wow, that was black when we started. Oh, good pick, Brian. Number 7, we have Near Dark. So I have it at 6, Brian at 2. Wow, CP at 14, Sean at 16. This is a movie that I was introduced to in my teens whenever they first had the first DVD about it, because this was out of print for a long time. And my dad introduced it to me and basically prefaced it as like, this was the other cool vampire movie that came out that Lost Boys totally overshadowed. And I was like, okay, cool. And watched it, loved it immediately. It's a vampire Western. It's got one of the more memorable vampire characters in Bill Paxton, Severin. You got Catherine Bigelow here, who's gone on to do a ton of things. My favorite film is Point Break, but she's more known for the Oscar stuff like Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30 and stuff. But she started here, and it's just
James Cameron for a bit.
Exactly. It's just a really cool vampire movie from the 80s that has always kind of maintained being somewhat of a hidden gem, even though it seems like a lot of horror fans know of its existence. The only knock I've ever had against this movie is that I think that it wraps up way too easily, way too cleanly with the blood transfusion shit. Other than that, I love it.
Yeah, I saw this late one night on TV. Didn't know anything about it. Thought it was just going to be this kind of Western love story, and then all of a sudden just became this vampire film. And I was like, and the style of it, I was like, man, this feels like it was made by the people who like did The Hitcher or something. And then
yeah, I can see that.
I checked. Well, it was, because it was written by the same writer. So
well, that tracks.
Yeah. So like, I looked it up because like I say, it was the first time I'd even heard of it, and I'm watching this thing and I'm like, man, it's got a proper Hitcher vibe about it. And I look at it, Eric Red, same writer. I'm like, oh wow, okay. And then Catherine Bigelow and him would go on to do Blue Steel, which is also a really good film. But yeah, I love it. I've got my Lance Henriksen signed picture in the back there of his character.
You're watching Brian Lomax's movie.
Can I stop now?
Yeah.
It's just best celebrity I've ever met. The dude was awesome. Just sat me down for about 20 minutes and we just chatted for.
Oh wow!
It was great.
You should have filmed that.
Yeah, I think he appreciated. So right, so I queue up. There's a really big queue to see him. So I thought, and I suddenly realised, hang on, this queue ain't for Lance Henriksen. It's for Robert Englund. So I'm like,
and you got out of line.
I did. Well, I shouted down. I was just. So he's sat there, and then so I shout down the queue, and I'm like, because they have staff members on the table. I'm like, excuse me, mate. Is it this is the queue for Lance Henriksen, right? And he goes, no, this is Robert Englund. And he Robert Englund sat right there, and he goes, this is for Robert, like Mr. Englund. And I'm like, oh. No thanks. So I just walked straight across to Lance Henriksen, who sat there on his bill just waiting for anyone to show up. And I think because he saw all that play out, he was just like, dude, take a seat. We're going to chat. So, but
how dare you shame the director of 976 Evil, sir?
That's a similar version of what it was like whenever me and Sean got in line to meet Gus Fring, Giancarlo Esposito, and we were like, are these 3,000 people here for Gus? They're like, no, that's for Brendan Fraser. Oh, okay. And then right when we got to the table and started talking to him, all of a sudden, and Brendan walks out, and we were like, oh, hey, what's up, Brendan? So anyway, Gus.
But yeah, Near Dark, great, and I think Severin Bill Paxton, awesome. Rest in peace, CP. You can do it with that one.
Not Bill Pullman.
Just yeah. Bill Paxton, possibly my favourite vampire in a film.
Really?
Looking good.
Certainly up there. Just yeah. Such a he just has fun with that role.
Dude, Bill Paxton in anything when he brings it's just
True Lies. Lies.
Dude, when he talks about ass like a 10-year-old boy, you're like, I should be thoroughly offended, but I'm laughing my ass off. Kitties makes one a bag for buttermilk.
I always think of Weird Science when he's got the rock. This is a missile chip. He's like, I didn't think it was a whale's dick, honey.
You got yourself one, dickweed.
Oh man, Sean, anything to add for Near Dark? Was this the first time for you?
First time watch. Nothing really to add. I mean, I didn't have. I liked it. I thought it was good. Dug the vibe. Didn't have any particularly strong standout feelings, emotions about it.
Fair enough. Moving on to number 6.
And it's the earliest for Sean, and he's the most fucking out of it.
Yeah. It's all the coke. Look at all the freaking aspartame that he just downed over the past
line of
3
caffeine
hours.
on him.
The guy's blood is like fucking brown at this point.
All right, I'm back. I'm pumped now.
Yeah, he's having that crash. Oh man. All right, number 6. We got the original Fright Night. This was the highest for me at number 2, CP at 7, Brian at 11, Sean at 17. I'll attribute that to a first time watch, sir.
I'll attribute it to you not watching it with me to help me place it right.
How
This
many
is on
movies do
you.
you need to watch with Cody?
I forced him to finally watch Lost Boys whenever he was here. That was the one that I took the time. It was that and Rudderless. Because Rudderless is one of those movies that certain people, if I don't force you to watch it, you just never get around to it. But yeah,
Wait, you
Fright
didn't
Night.
force him to watch Rudderless, but you forced me to watch Rudderless?
I can't force CP to do anything.
Oh, that's true.
Hey, man, we're going live on the 31st at 8 p.m. I'll see you on the 5th. Yeah, anyway, so Fright Night, always been one of my favorites. I was introduced to this movie. I don't remember the name of it, but back whenever we had cable and all of us watched that, there was this late show. It was like 2 a.m, and it was a guy introducing movies. And he's like, this is this great little vampire movie from the 80s. And I sat there and watched the whole thing until like 3 or 4 in the morning. It's got a great mix of like the 80s style while throwing back to like the old Hammer days. Great characters. I mean, it's 80s all the way. So it either makes it incredibly dated for you or it's very nostalgic. Great soundtrack. Chris Sarandon as the main vampire is one of my favorites of all time.
Welcome to Fright Night.
Exactly.
For real. Yeah.
I love it. Nothing negative to say about it.
Yeah, it's
With that, moving on. No,
it's comfortable in
Yes.
the 80s. It's definitely something that probably that movie can only be made and succeed in the 80s. And again, to me, my first thought was, oh, they're doing Rear Window, but with a twist, and in the 80s, and with the typical horror host deal. And it works. It works for when it was released. Like I think Brian said it earlier. Like it feels of its time. I don't know if you try to like synthetically make this movie, like if you tried to Stranger Things this movie now, if it would work the same way. Like I don't know if I'm making sense, but it's way late here. Like. The way Sean looks, my brain feels.
Guys,
the damn point.
Guys, it's after midnight where I'm at. It's already 12:03 here. So you guys have no idea what it's like for me in this situation.
Yeah.
We've just bled into another day entirely. So it's I'm literally seeing the sunrise. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Yes, it's like daytime there. It's dark out here.
Yeah.
It just became Saturday.
So Sean, was it just
Six.
the time at which you saw it that you didn't have the 80s nostalgia that held it back?
First time watching it by myself at my house, you just see all the 80s, the cheese and the flaws and the goofiness in a context where it doesn't necessarily have the charm that it would have for other people. Like all the things you guys are listing off is like, oh yeah, it's like this. I was like, yeah, it was like that. Right. Mm-hmm. But you can look at a zillion movies that I love that I did grow up with from the 80s that have the cheese that I dig. But so there's just a lot of things like that just struck me as kind of weird or odd. So I'm sure if I watched it younger, if I watched it with someone that could interpret it for me, if I watched it like in an Alamo draft house with a bunch of people going nuts for it, it would work a little bit better, be higher up on my list. But just watching it by myself for this was like, this isn't one of those movies that I watched and I got it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, these lists are like our preference. It's not like us saying, A+ to D-. That, I get a certain entertainment value out of Twilight. And that's why it's higher than a couple of other movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's understandable. But some people just don't understand, man.
One of the things I remember as a kid was going into a video store and seeing the cover for Fright Night on the shelves. And it's like so much of what being a kid in the 80s and going into video stores was about. So much of what that was about was the
VHS cover.
The VHS cover.
What you were doing. Yeah.
And the VHS, the film either lived up to the VHS cover or it didn't. And if it lived up to the VHS cover, that's when it became a classic. And it's like, because on the cover you see that big wide mouthed kind of vampire thing, and you're like, that's what I want to see. It's on the cover. I want to see that. So you get to the end of the film, and then she turns into, and the the practical effects are all on glorious show. It's just like, boom, that was on the cover. I got to see it in the film. That's awesome. But beyond that, there's loads of other really great stuff in it as well. But it's for me, I just remember that cover. It's like, people always ask me, why are you such a big Critters fan? I saw that cover in the video store for so long, and I just always wanted to see the film. Just that cover of that big ass critter, it just like, that just looks like something I need to see. And then I eventually got to see it, and it
so did we.
Yeah. Boom. You're welcome.
Absolutely. All right, moving on to the top 5. We got American Werewolf in London. Sean at number 4, CP at number 2, Brian at 12, me at 11. Never been my favorite werewolf movie. That's the thing you have to open up with, but I appreciate a lot about it. I mean, best werewolf transformation ever put to screen. The practical effects work. There's no question why it won, I believe, the first Oscar for makeup work for Rick Baker. And it's an enjoyable movie. I like it more as I rewatch it, but the thing that's always odd about this movie to me is that it's always hailed as like the best horror comedy of all time, and for me the comedy doesn't land. Like, it doesn't really work as a comedy. Like, it's just, aside from a couple of really out there moments like the dream sequence and stuff that's just kind of crazy, it just, I don't know, I never think of it as a horror comedy, so the times it tries to be funny with the lead character always kind of fall flat for me. But other than that, I mean, it's can't really hold anything against it.
I think when he's behind the bush, I mean, it's probably a movie, a thing you can't do today, where he's in the zoo and the kid's got the
a naked man took my balloons.
Yeah, and he's like, hey kid.
Yeah,
that would be read so wrong. No,
but like that sort of tone of the things that you can't do or you wouldn't do, like he's in the porn theater at the end of the, like those little details that like you just wouldn't see that in a movie now. Mm-hmm. That's kind of, this was the first time watch for me, and to contrast it with Fright Night, this one I felt like I got better. But like, and it's that stuff, the stuff that's so weird or out there that just stood out as nice, distinct flavor moments.
The absolute jump scares too, like when the Nazi wolves just break into his house. You're like, what the? And that weird audio screech, just like, what the fuck's going on here? What is this? And it's just a dream. And the best transition effects of any werewolf movie, period.
Yep.
Period.
This is the guy that they hired to do the werewolf effects for Wes Craven's Cursed, and then the Weinsteins
CGI
took
the crap
his
out of
stuff
it.
away and gave it to somebody else and put CGI all over it.
Oh.
But you didn't know that before now, but now you do. Oh, man. All right. Any more thoughts on that, or moving on to number 4?
Moving on.
Moving on to
7
number
o'clock
4.
by the time we're done.
Yeah, I hear you. Number 4. Pussy. From Dusk Till Dawn. We got number 5 for me, number 1 for CP, number 18 for Brian, number 2 for Sean. A little bit of a split on that one. This is a movie I'll always cherish as the movie my dad took me to go see when I was 6 years old, thinking it was a cool little vampire thing. And the entire movie, he's like, like holding my, as soon as we got into the bar and Cheech Marin, he's like, oh shit. Like, and for like a year I bugged him to want to watch the VHS tape, and I wore him down. But yeah, I love From Dusk Till Dawn. I think that the first half works better than the second half. It gets a little too hokey for me, but that's also kind of its charm. I prefer kind of the Tarantino crime thriller side of the movie than I do the vampire romp, but it works together as a cool little grindhousey type of concept. Great cast,
Dude, it takes a left turn. Like, things just like
I watched it with my wife just to see somebody's genuine reaction that has no idea that that's coming. And as soon as she was like, oh, what the fuck? Like, it was hilarious. I was like, hey, it works. And you can't talk about From Dusk Till Dawn without saying that I think I hit puberty when I was 6 years old when I finally saw Salma Hayek, and that image has still been burned into my brain as like when you look up goddess in the dictionary, it's Santanical Pandemonium. Moving on. Brian, you had it the lowest.
Yeah, I still really enjoy it. It's one I'll bang on just for sheer entertainment value, but it just doesn't hold up as well as I would like it to. Again, mostly because of that second half. Once you get over the novelty factor that it does change into a vampire movie, the vampire stuff itself actually gets a little bit silly at times. The vampires themselves don't make much sense because they're super strong and yet you can punch your fist right through them. The special effects don't really hold up that well, and this was a film that essentially got financed through the special effects company that agreed to offer their services in order to get the film kind of done. I prefer the first half of the film with the two gangsters on the run with this family and the danger that poses to each family member, and it feels a bit more. For me, it feels like the first half is Tarantino and the second half is more Rodriguez, and I think it's pretty clear which of the two I'm more in the camp of.
Yeah, but they bond. There's a bit of a Stockholm syndrome between.
It's weird too because they're absolutely despicable human beings, and you can't help but love them. Like Seth Gecko is my favorite Tarantino characters ever. Like I love that scene where, the hell do you want? I want a room, you mean old bastard. What the hell? Like every line that this guy comes out with is just gold. And shockingly, Tarantino actually gives a really creepy performance.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Is
from
it
an
shocking
acting standpoint,
though?
It's definitely his best.
It's shocking when you see what else he does. Where he, there's some dynamite for you, mate.
Yeah, I mean,
God bless the guy for having a crack, though. He tries.
You've got 90s Tarantino and 90s Robert Rodriguez, two things I love. Merge them together with vampires. What's not to love here? So, I don't know. Maybe one half is better than the other, but It's like two things that I really like. And I mean, even just like the wild cast of, you think what the stuff George Clooney is normally known for, and then he does this movie where he's just like this despicable, super likable, terrible person that kills a bunch of vampires.
Charismatic piece of shit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then just is still like in awe of like, I don't believe in vampires, but I just killed a bunch of vampires. Like just like the craziness of it. So it's just right up my alley. And that early run of Robert Rodriguez films of Desperado, this one, and The Faculty. There was a great run that unfortunately he hasn't carried that on much after the turn of the century.
Machete's good.
Hypnotic.
There is one aspect of From Dusk Till Dawn that I do really appreciate, which is I think when Tarantino is just having fun, I think you can overlook the fact that actually he's still a pretty serious writer who does like to work themes in there and things that are actually worth talking about. And that whole conversation which Sean just alluded to, when it's essentially Gecko that kind of forces the priest to get his faith back, because this is a guy who's lost his faith. And it's actually Gecko that says, look, if this stuff exists, then the opposite has to exist. If crosses work on them, then there must be something in that. So it's essentially all this. It's the acknowledgement that, well, if there is true evil, then there has to be true good. And I feel like the film does a pretty good job in a very entertaining way, if you want to look a bit deeper, of raising certain spiritual questions, which, like I say, I don't think that's the main focus of someone like Rodriguez or anything, but from a writer's standpoint, I appreciate that Tarantino is classy enough to actually put something in there that gives it a little bit of meat on its bones.
And smack dab in the middle, you got symbolically Salma Hayek handling a giant snake.
Yeah.
That's true.
I thought you were just going to say getting a baps out or something like, something CP-esque, but yeah, it's just
close.
Can you imagine Quentin Tarantino doing the casting with Robert Rodriguez, and he sees Salma come in, he goes, okay, let me rewrite.
Yeah,
and then she puts her toes in his mouth. All right, moving on to number 3. Oddly enough, the only movie on this list that all 4 of us agreed was a top 10 film. Blade. Blade, number 1 for Sean, number 10 for CP and Brian, and number 4 for myself. Blade is awesome. I mean, this is the movie that often gets overlooked when we talk about movies that kind of kicked off the modern age of comic book films. And for a long time, even me myself, I think most people didn't even realize it was a comic book film. It was just a badass vampire movie. It nails the horror side of the vampirism and the lore and the hierarchy and the bureaucracy, but it also has all this really awesome practical action and martial arts with Wesley Snipes. Really, the only thing that I could ever hail against this movie as a critique is just that some of the early CGI doesn't really hold all that well. And thank God they did the reshoot ending and not the original blood cloud thing. The movie would have probably died in obscurity with that. But yeah, I love Blade. Sean, you had it at number 1.
I also love Blade. That's all. Now, so I was huge into martial arts films back in the 90s, as we've brought up already. For example, Only the Strong, Under Siege 2, and Blade. So I just think that it's such a cool film, where it was an early movie pulling from the Hong Kong style of fight choreography and shooting the action, combined with being a horror film. There's all these weird little details where, there's monsters. The big fat vampire monster guy that he's shooting with the UV flashlight that just feels like a weird, odd moment, but that's exactly what makes it interesting and fun to watch at the same time. I like the mechanism where they use the lady as a way to kind of like slowly pull us into the world as a point of view character. And so, yeah, just for me, there was so much about this movie that I just, it's very much my kind of film.
Agreed.
Yeah, Willie Mays Hayes is pretty badass as the
Mm-hmm.
the Neo before Neo.
Mm-hmm.
Long black leather jacket, doing
Raves,
Batman voice.
techno beats, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I like the actor in it as well who plays. He was actually Bullock in the TV series of Gotham. It's the guy with the ginger beard who keeps getting his arm cut off.
Donald Longu.
Yeah, Donald Logue. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. I really like him in pretty much most things I see him in. He's just very, very watchable presence. So, but it's just a really great action film that kind of you can take for granted now because we're so saturated with comic book movies. But that genre was pretty much dead after 1997 because of Batman and Robin.
Nice little transition from Mr. Nipples himself.
Mm-hmm. So it's just like, yeah, that came on the scene. It's like, all right, they've gone, rather than appealing to the kids, they've gone, no, let's do a comic book movie for adults. It's going to be violent, it's going to be dark, it's going to be action-packed. And unfortunately, they don't really do that many more like that. It's like we had to wait till like Deadpool before we got another kind of R-rated comic book movie, which is surprising because there's a definite market for it. People really want it.
Joker made over $1 billion.
Yeah.
Hollywood's a business. They don't know until you fucking smack them in the face with money, and they're like, "Oh, you want that?
Yeah.
Okay."
There's a boardroom of like 30 people right now brainstorming the next Barbenheimer. Like,
Yeah.
how can we do this? What's
Yeah.
the two movies that make no sense together? Quick super chat. Any reason for omitting 1922's influential and landmark Nosferatu? The design of Count Orlok is so creepy. Where would it be on this list if included? I've never seen it. It's not included on this list because you guys didn't pick it. No, there's a lot of classic movies that would have been fun to include here, but you could only include so many, and the popular ones just sweeped. So that's why.
Yeah, we all have a hand in this. All four of us had 5, and you guys picked the rest. So, it's everybody's fault.
There's enough movies that we could do a round 2 of this at some point.
It just, I mean, like, no Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There's so many movies from different eras. Classic Dracula from the Universal Monsters. Like, there's so many movies that it's like, how is that not in there?
Yeah,
but that's what we kind of wanted. We wanted a bunch of classics that we love. We wanted some bad ones. We wanted some cheesy ones. We wanted some obscure ones. And so I think it's a pretty good. And we have we have French film, we have Korean film, Norwegian film. It's a pretty diverse set of films, but as is
Swedish.
Swedish, yes. Sorry.
I think this was probably the most palatable of the third. Like it would. Brian said it earlier. Watching 31 slashers, it's just like, all right. Having this diversity is just it just made it easier to go down.
Man,
even if you
those
didn't
8
like
Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies just crippled me.
See you in October.
Thanks, guys.
And on that note, thanks, Brian. Fucking 14. The Lost Boys is number 2. Is my number 1. CP's 4. Sean's 6, and Brian was grumpy that day. So The Lost Boys, I've often said this and John Carpenter's The Thing are my 2 favorite horror films of all time. Lost Boys is one of those VHS tapes that I'm surprised didn't bust off the spools because I just constantly watched it as a kid. One of my most important films growing up. It's eternally cool. It's just like Fright Night, just that 80s style that it has. If you grew up with it or if you watched it growing up, it's eternally like a time capsule of coolness. Great soundtrack. Really nice little spin on the genre. I don't really have any negatives with this movie, and I've talked about it ad nauseum. It's just it's my number 1 because this is one of those movies that just it is me. This is a part of me.
Such a part of American pop culture zeitgeist that I'm going to drop a Sean Chandler on you. And that's why Us, the filming location, might be a little familiar to you people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where the greased up sax guy was.
I very rarely let nostalgia kind of affect me in any way. I'm not. There's only a few films where nostalgia will admittedly play back. Yeah, Critters is one of them. But on the whole, I don't tend to get into nostalgia. So, with that in mind, I will say 10-year-old me would be stood right next to Cody right now. This is one of my top 10 films of all time. Is 10-year-old me is saying that. But it's just, as I get older, the more I watch it, I'm just like, it's bits. My memories of it are better than the reality of it. But it's still a 4-star film for me. It's still a really good, fun watch.
In other words, Brian matured and I'm eternally a child.
That's what I heard.
That was a backhanded. You're a little 10-year-old, Cody.
Back when I was 10 and picking boogers, and I would have agreed with Cody.
I first saw Lost Boys when I was 8 years old. So, like, by the time I was 10, my favorite movies were Highlander, Critters, Lost Boys, and like a handful of others. But yeah, that was kind of like where I was heading. But I grew up, and what can I say?
Kiefer Sutherland in the 80s was the teenage, like, heartthrobby shithead, and he's so that in Lost Boys.
He was like an early 90s Christian Slater.
Yeah, other than Stand By Me, I would say this is probably Kiefer Sutherland's best villain role.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, after Stand By Me, he's like made for this movie. Like that Chinese food scene is just so, I don't know, that
maggots, Michael.
yeah, that's all I need to see. That's all I need to see.
I introduced Sean to this whenever
It's
he
true.
stayed with me, so I'm gonna tell him what his thoughts are.
Yes,
So
correct.
starting off, no, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, so I imagine it probably helped watching it in a context to be able one of their favorite movies and can unpack it with them. But also, Joel Schumacher always gets picked on for Batman and Robin. But you're talking about a director that had a great diverse set of films and a very distinct style.
Mm-hmm.
And like even this movie just oozes with style and the colors, the use of that song throughout the whole.
Flamboyant.
Yeah, just very flamboyant, and it in the right context, it gives so much personality to a movie. You put nipples on the bat suit, it's just kind of weird. But here it fits perfectly, and like it make all the jokes about saxophone guy, but it's just like such an oddly specific thing that makes a movie stand out and memorable, and it fits in the context of what you're watching in the world that he's creating here.
Yeah, who is that guy related to that he got that much screen time, or was like, what the? All right, we get it. It's a sax player. What are we doing? Cut away already. Sorry, Sean.
That was probably all I had to say. I was really stretching out what Cody told me to say.
Well, you've been saying the whole night. It's one of the movies where I wish I watched it with Cody, and this is the
one
where
that
you
I watched with Cody. And
you
so
have nothing to
anytime
say.
you watch a film and you get to sit in Cody's lap and he's holding your hand,
Little
it just
10-year-old Cody.
and he's like stroking your hair. It just makes for a better
Eating him
experience
cheese dip.
watching. Yeah, the whole time, and with a delicious meal that he
just got
cooked in the
weird.
kitchen just for me.
Dude, it didn't help 65 for me. That's for sure.
That's because you were asleep.
But didn't you watch that in the theater? Did you watch it in his living room as he's making you food and feeding it to you?
Yeah.
There's a difference. It makes
Don't
all
bring
the
up
difference.
food, and Cody and me, I'll be in trouble.
6:30, guys. 6:30.
Pool Stroke says, my fave Schumacher as well as Sutherland movie is A Time to Kill. Great court drama with Matthew McConaughey and Samuel L. Jackson. Another really underrated one is 8mm.
Do not watch the Lost Boys sequels. Corey Feldman takes himself way too
They
serious.
don't exist. They don't exist.
No, there are none.
They don't exist.
A bit
All
like
right.
Terminator 3.
Yeah. I'll take that over those any day. Blade 2, number 1. So me and Sean agree at number 3, CP at 12, Brian at 6, and oddly it averaged out to number 1. So
This is such a weird list.
it's weird how it works.
Numbers.
So Blade 2, basically everything I said about Blade, but I've always found Blade 2 to be just a little bit better, a little bit more style. I like the Reaper vampires that Guillermo del Toro brought into it. Norman Reedus is a fun little addition there. I think that they kind of they pull some serious script writing bullshit to get Chris Christopherson back into the movie, but he's such an awesome addition that I kind of forgive the movie immediately after that. And Ron Perlman and all that rivalry is great. There's not much. Just like the first one, it's the CGI. It's the bouncy video game graphics in a couple of the fight scenes.
Yeah.
End of discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah. You shoehorn Chris Christopherson back, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a better villain in this one.
Yes.
I just, like just visually better, and also with regards to the character's motivations, and that it's actually a villain that in some ways you kind of sympathize with. But yeah, I mean, that's just Del Toro for you, because he always wants you to sympathize with the monsters, but I think he does a good job of it. So
Daryl Dixon being a little pissant too. Fuck.
There you go. Uncle Sean?
Yeah, so I have this one in third, whereas the first Blade in first place. I think that's just a matter of, I like the nature of the story of the first one, where it's a little bit more of an investigation. You're diving into the world. This one's a little bit more straightforward, and I just kind of like the handling in the first one more. But obviously I have it number 3 on this list. I think it's a great follow-up, and it's not a rehash. It has both the way the action is shot, even the way they still are going to nightclubs, but the nature of the nightclubs, it's not a bloodbath rave. I mean, they're very different, but it feels like it complements it. So it's the right way to do a sequel that expands things. It does new things with it, but it complements it so well. Yeah, as it turns out, this Guillermo del Toro fellow might
He
have
might
a
be
future.
onto something.
Yeah, I think he might be able to do something with himself one of these days.
I was a little let down that the doctor, the female from the first one, just was. I don't know. Did she just stop acting, or like was there a reason that she just?
I don't think I've seen her in anything since. I have no idea.
So there's no like behind the scenes reason why they didn't bring her back.
Not that I'm aware of.
And yeah, I was kind of bummed about that. I mean, you're gonna bring Chris. Yeah, easy for you to say. You bring him back. I was just a little bummed out because I dug her as the the grounded scientist who was like, what the fuck's going on here? And slowly seeing is believing.
Absolutely.
She was too busy. Is that really it?
What? She was too busy.
Somebody in
I
the
don't-
chat says she was too busy.
I have no idea.
Busy for
All
a
right,
movie?
guys. Well, that is the 31. I do have a couple of just only 3 really quick ones. Some fun stats to go over. So our biggest splits, we had Vampires, a split of 24 between CP and Sean. Ginger Snaps, a split of 23 between Cody and Brian. Dog Soldiers, a split of 22 between Cody and Brian. And Underworld, a split of 21 between CP and Brian.
Woo!
We have our movie savior screen, where Brian saved 30 Days of Night would have been 8 places lower without him. I saved Silver Bullet would have been 6 places lower, and CP saved Underworld would have been 6 places lower. And movie slasher, Underworld would have been 8 places lower or higher without Brian. CP would have had Vampires and Dog Soldiers in 7 and 6 places higher, respectively, and I would have Brotherhood would have been 6 places higher without my vote. A couple other fun little fun tidbits here. So like I said, Blade was the only movie that we agreed were a top 10 film. We didn't agree on anything in the middle 11. and we only agreed on Blade Trinity, Abraham Lincoln, Twilight, and American Werewolf in Paris for the bottom 11. We have
Diversity, baby.
Yes, exactly. Our votes that were the closest together were Blade Trinity, American Werewolf in Paris, Twilight, The Howling, and American Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Most often correct went to Sean this time. He had 3 times where his number ended up being the group average. CP and Brian both had 1. I had a big goose egg. And the last little fun tidbits here. All of Brian's picks made it to his top 7. Everybody else, their picks were all over the place.
Damn straight.
There we
Damn
go.
straight.
So Brian knows his taste very well. And with that being said, so we have a bunch of average scores here as far as the coveted Lomax Award. And I really had no idea where this was going to go because we all had some wild hot takes on this one. And without saying names, we had the one person had 20 hot takes, as in like their scores of movies were the farthest away from everybody else. Where runner-up was at 25, the next person was at 30, and the winner of the Lomax Award for this one had 46 points for their score on the hot takes here on this very complicated graph that we don't have time to go over the math for because it's...
Shout out to John Connor.
There you go. And so with that said...
A film that is literally unwatchable. Eek. Oof. Yeah.
That's a good me. That's a good version of me he did at the end.
So from Dusk Till Dawn, Underworld, Ginger Snaps, a number of others had Brian on this scoreboard at 46, and I was genuinely shocked that it wasn't Sean. I thought Sean was just going to wipe the floor with
think we should put the vote to the people in the chat, because on this one, I wholeheartedly believe that everyone would be with me. Most people would be with me and think that the 3 of you should joint take the Lomax movie. That is just like, let the right one in. Right down, like you're smoking crack. Ginger Snaps, Dog Soldiers, the 3 of you, you're smoking crack. People are with me on this one. I do not deserve the Lomax in this one. You 3 do, collectively. Suck all y'all.
Cecil B. DeMille says he does not deserve the Cecil B. DeMille Award.
That's right. That's right.
Dice said she votes for Brian. That's all I need to.
Of course she does. She's a.
We got
admin on your channel.
No, hang on. We got a couple more.
That's the
Daniel
reason.
Skinner, and Dice, and we got Andrew, and I don't know. You're losing this one, Brian. Just for Van Helsing, Brian deserves it from Kyle. Big Papa Musk, Brian starting off his day a winner.
Smoking crack is one thing, but having poor taste is another.
That's true. Speak from experience, yeah.
Don't know good cinema if it smacked you in the face.
Award to Brian. Even your American friend that was defending Dog Soldiers says Brian and Kieran
Brian,
Head.
I don't know. The chat's kind of.
Yeah. What?
Oh boy.
And the final super chat of the night before we take off, we have Sean should win the Lomax Award just for changing into that shirt.
And
This shirt is
and
awesome.
keeping it.
There we go.
I appreciate you taking the heat off of me too. By the way, that's. It's hard to take attention away from this.
Oh man! All right, guys. Well, I'm going to take mercy on everybody. And is there anything that you want to plug coming up, CP?
I don't know what my travel status is, so I will be doing something Lost related on the 15th. So,
Brian,
Nah.
see you in October. Sean, what do we got coming up?
Well, I'm hoping that when you come to town, we can eat really hot, spicy foods and talk about hot takes.
Yeah.
And then feel sick the next day at the Alamo Draft House. Apparently, big thing coming up for me and you is Fantastic Fest. It's locked in now. But as for the channel, we just passed everything interesting because it was summertime. This was the best month ever for my channel, so it's like pretty exciting time. You can tell from my energy level here in the chairs I'm falling asleep. But yeah, it's actually not I don't have anything to plug, but hopefully in September I'll have a bunch of fun stuff with when you come to town.
Absolutely.
What,
yes.
what is the highlight? Is there a
fantastic?
Fantastic.
Is there like is it just Fantastic
we don't know.
Fest?
Yeah, we don't know the lineup yet. They haven't announced the movies. They make you sign up and buy tickets and stuff before they tell you what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
So,
But it's
Sundance.
it's
We'll
lining
let you
up
know.
to have a lot of potential, though. I mean, there's obviously usually a lot of things there that you don't expect, that you have no knowledge of before you walk in and just watch the movie.
You might see Saw 10 first.
Saw 10, Five Nights at Freddy's, David Fincher's newest film. There's a lot of movies that are right there in that little window where it's anybody's game, so it might be a little crazy. Like last year was Terrifier 2 and Smile and the Menu and a bunch of other crazy ones.
Hellraiser.
Hellraiser.
Menu, nice.
Yeah.
Shit.
Menu is good.
Absolutely.
and the Banshees movie, we saw that way before everybody else.
Yeah, we took a piss right next to Martin.
We did. There's like
the director.
we're like in the bathroom, and there's like people walking up to him. And he's at the urinal, like standing there. This guy, like, hey man, that movie was awesome.
Oh,
Like, what are you doing? The guy's peeing.
well,
Yeah.
it's kind of his style of humor, so I guess.
Yeah. He seemed to go along with it. He was
Yeah.
chill, but yeah, we went pee with him. That's probably the greatest moment of my life.
Our urine share the same
Yeah.
capacity.
I was almost going to lean over and whisper in his ear, like, my friend Brian loves him, Bruce. And just keep going. Yeah, on this channel, like where the fun season is starting to kind of fade out for Sean, I'm hoping that my fun season is starting to begin because the summer's been a little rough on this channel. But we have, I just saw Haunted Mansion with my kids today. I'm probably not going to review that, but we have a lot of movies on my month ranking that'll be next week. I have my review of Talk to Me that'll drop tomorrow. I'm also driving to Jacksonville to spend the day with my two daughters, and we're going to see the Ninja Turtles movie a couple days early. And yeah, that's pretty much what you can look forward to most soon on this channel. But
Somebody, a couple of people have asked, when are we announcing October?
I was going to announce it tonight, but I did not have enough time to throw together a little teaser. I spent all my day putting together the things that we already saw. So very soon I'll put some little teaser together. And all
Brian's
that I will
not happy.
say, all that I will say for tease is that Brian is not happy and suffering is sweet. So yes. With that being said, guys, thank you for joining us. This was awesome. It was a long one, and sweet dreams.
Good morning.
Yeah.